All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. Sorry, I had to swallow that fruit snack real quick. Another episode of the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. Episode 28 for the date of Sunday, November 5th, 2017. I'm your host, D.
This is Juice.
Your boy, Jay.
And we back for another one, guys.
Yeah, that don't munch no
And
fruit
another
snacks.
one.
Yeah, man, had a fruit snack stuck in my
Yo,
throat.
can we drop some
Toast.
fruit snacks in this wine?
Toast. Yeah, this joint definitely need a couple fruit snack ice
Sipping
cubes.
on some good old barefoot
So let's drop
Pinot
some.
Grigio.
Let's drop a couple fruit snacks in this wine.
I'm saying I'm about to drop a
Actually, that probably
Starburst
would be
in
good.
this.
I'm looking at it like that probably would be kind of banging. Man.
It was it.
We'll drop a Jolly Rancher in this joint or something.
Scissor, baby. That barefoot Pinot Grigio scissor.
Yep. Welcome back. Another episode with us, guys. We're going to be talking about a couple topics. Jay was kind enough to list them out for us before we started. Cultural appropriation, black power versus white power, voting, and the DNC corruption to its roots that we all know is there for the DNC and the RNC. It's no
Hillary ain't
different.
shit. I'm saying, said it, man.
It's not her fault.
It's her fault.
You know,
She knew what
it's
she
the
was
system. Yeah, it's the system. This is how
All
it
right.
is.
So let's start with this.
We're starting with the DNC corruption. Okay.
All right, so I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news. I don't think it's actually been up on the mainstream or that much into the main news because of the whole debacle with Trump and his guys, Manafort and Papadopoulos. And those guys getting arrested by the FBI.
Don Papadopoulos.
Don Papadopoulos. You know what I'm saying?
Was
the
a
sound
hard name.
bomber,
Yeah,
Joe?
sound bomber.
Sound like Don Papadopoulos. Yo, but I don't know if y'all heard, but so Donna Brazile, the former interim DNC chairwoman, this is from the article, written in Vanity Fair, says Donna Brazile says she has proof Clinton rigged the primary against Sanders. It starts out, the former interim DNC chairwoman details how the Clinton campaign took control of the party's finances during the 2016 election in her new book. So she's dropping a book, and I think that's why this probably came out right about now. So, just a quick rundown. Hillary Clinton recently released a book. What was it? What happened? Or pretty much trying to explain away why she lost the election to the numbnut of numbnuts, Donald Trump. So months later, after Hillary drops this book and she goes on this tour, pretty much blaming everybody but herself. Like she says she blames herself for why she lost the campaign, but the fact of the matter is she blames Russia, Sanders, progressives, and everybody else besides her own inability to connect with the American people. But so Donna Brazile is, of course, releasing a book, and she's explaining how the DNC was pretty much, because they were in so much debt, and this is a breakdown of what the article talks about, but because they were in so much debt that the Clinton organization, what we call them, Brooklyn, or they're located in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the Clinton organization came in and pretty much purchased the DNC by covering 80% of their debt and giving the DNC a narrow stipend to work off of. Pretty much, in a nutshell, that's pretty much saying that they gave them an incentive to let them take over, and then in order to keep them under control, they only gave them enough money to keep the people working, and not enough to actually make do what needs to be done for other people in the who are competing in the DNC, for primarily Bernie Sanders. So that's a rundown of what happened.
Man, I think the way these campaigns work, it's like once they get their guy, or in this case their woman, that's who will get the most attention, the most financing. If Hillary wasn't there, or if Sanders wasn't talking about so much radicalism in his initial campaign, maybe Sanders would have been the guy, right? And it's hard to outrun the system or the way that the government is ran, the way these things are funded. You know, we were just talking about before, Cass, how you said that it's legal bribery in the form of campaign donations, right? So maybe, we're not cutting Sanders enough slack, because maybe he would have fell victim to the same kind of, ideals and, money grabbing that it seems like a lot of that's infecting the way that these campaigns are run, man.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that. Like, I hear what you're saying. Like, of course,
because in the end, it comes down to money, man. It's
but not for everybody, right?
Not
for everybody, and it's not supposed to.
And the
right?
reason Sanders was choked out is because he didn't have enough money. He couldn't hang with Hillary.
This whole thing that's what
man.
DNC said, right? That's what the DNC was trying to propose. That he didn't have enough momentum, he didn't have enough popularity to win these popular votes. But the fact of the matter is, through Donna Brazile releasing this proves that. First off, we know that Sanders got less promotion, while Donald J. Trump got the most free press. Hillary Clinton got the second amount of press coverage, while Bernie Sanders was barely making any press coverage, and yet he still had more independent donations from independent people, middle-class people like you and me, towards his campaign, and was able to be competitive, which you have to say how amazing that is. When you're coming in as a new name, first time running for this position, right? He didn't have a name. Do you know who Bernie Sanders was before
this? No,
exactly. But he came out
I
with enough
seen
momentum.
a couple of his addresses to
was that
Congress
before or
or something
after?
like that.
Like, that's the thing.
I'm going to say
a lot of stuff came after.
I'm going to say a lot of it was after, but I might have seen him before. I'm not sure.
No, I'm saying, like, I hear what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, like, the government is corrupt because we have bribery in the form of what they call campaign finance, which is big corporations or big money entities putting a huge chunk of their money into a particular campaign.
And with that money comes media coverage and favoritism
and favors, right? With that money, and in that way, it is a form of bribery. NRA, pharmaceutical industry, like people in Congress and politicians will continue to vote a particular way because of, and you can trace it. You could trace it directly. How much money a organization puts towards a campaign, puts towards a candidate, directly influences how that candidate votes. Like I'm saying, there is corruption and it needs to be fixed. Right, but what the DNC did right here, this is blatant, corruption. Like, they came in and they purchased an organization which is supposed to be for the betterment of the Democratic Party, like people who are registered Democrats, people who vote Democrat. Instead, they put a particular person's prerogative or their agenda first and foremost, and in that way,
a conflict of interest.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the other reason why Sanders didn't get a fair shake and he didn't get the support that he should have gotten was because he's not a yes man, essentially. He was trying to tear down the 1%. He's trying to tear down all these big corporations, which is why all these big corporations who are donating were like, well, if he's not going to follow our agenda, don't support this guy. And then let's go boost ratings for everyone else. Someone who can, control, someone who they can manipulate. Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton too. I mean, how many times did she boast her connections with Wall Street?
Or what about her flipping?
Flip-flopping on that.
On the sides? For anything.
For anything. Yeah. Gay marriage. All those things.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So, I mean, we... From the get-go, most people saw Hillary Clinton for what she was, a shill, right? Like, she would go for whoever gave her the most money.
It definitely felt like she was kind of forced into that position,
or she forced herself into a position and people didn't like her.
You can select, but you can elect the president, but you can't select the candidate. So these candidates come out of nowhere, and I give Trump one thing. At least he made you laugh when you watched him before on the campaign. Like, he would talk about a dude's bald spot or something. That's pretty funny, right? So.
That was his only.
The fact that Donald Trump won just shows the ridiculousness of this whole thing. Is it doesn't matter who's in that position. There's a specific agenda that's going to be followed, and You know, it doesn't matter who was going to win. You know?
Here's the thing, though. I don't know
Obama
if
followed that agenda. Yeah. Obama followed the same agenda as
who did
Bush.
Obama run against initially? McCain. Well, no, not
Kerry.
Not for the Kerry.
Mm-hmm.
So why did people vote for Obama over Kerry?
Because he was black.
Is it because he was black, or
I think it's because he was so different.
Because
that's why most of black people voted for him. We knew we talked about this before. We knew who we were voting for. As soon as he came up on that screen, dog,
I think black people voted for him probably a good amount toward because of that reason. I would give you that, but white people don't give a fuck.
They don't have that. Right? They don't have the
so
same.
Here's my thing, though. I think that people liked Obama because he came out with a very similar message to what Bernie was saying. Mm-hmm. Obama was super populist. Remember his whole campaign for hope and change. Mm-hmm. Hope and change. Hope and change.
I remember that shirt with hope on underneath.
And that was Obama. That's what everybody was like, yeah, we want hope, we want change, mm-hmm. right? So he actually connected with the people. And yes, he was black and that was cool as shit. But the fact of the matter is, Kerry didn't do that shit.
And he looked
That's why we don't remember
different.
Kerry. And here's the fact of the matter is, Hillary didn't do that. And even though she forced herself to win the DNC, she couldn't win the country. Couldn't win the country.
Trump did it.
He was clearly Trump
different.
Did exactly that. He said, drain the swamp. Change. We want to change the corrupt system. Yeah. He was the populist. Fucking somehow, she let Trump, numbnut, idiot, just rambling TV star be the populist. Mm-hmm. Where that is the position, even if she wasn't genuine about it at all. Because Trump
the DNC, they can't blame nobody but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can't blame anybody but themselves.
I think for real, like, there's no way on a popularity scale, to me and people that I talked to and have seen, Sanders was way more popular than Hillary Clinton with the people. Yeah. You know? So it doesn't make any sense that
if you just look at reposts,
he would be choked out of the DNC like that. It doesn't make any sense.
Like, I don't want to be bitter, but like, it's kind of like, you kind of deserve this. You know what I'm saying? You deserve that L. You know what I'm saying? Because like, you're going to do that to Sanders, and like when the same thing happens to you, don't complain about it.
Yeah, right. Like in a way, like, man, I voted for Hillary, and I sure as hell didn't want to. That was I held my nose and clicked. Right?
Like you said, it's picking a lesser of two evils.
It was. And that's exactly what it was.
But is it though? When you look at the government, you're looking at just two faces, two puppets. But people are the ones who are like the big corporations. They're the hands that are controlling the puppets.
They're definitely carrying out agendas, and we always say corporations.
And we know for a fact, like all of them are tight together. You know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't matter if you're Bush, Obama, Trump, or like Hillary. Like, they all tight.
And we always say corporations. Although corporations and government are separate, but you do have lobbyists in government who put millions of dollars towards
billions
for favoritism towards these corporations. And also corporations are handled like people. They're handled like entities, like a corporation has all the rights of a person. If you come in and I'm carrying whatever I make a year, and this corporation comes in, they make $600 million a year. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a little bit different.
And say you donate 3% of your wages to a campaign you want support, and they do the same thing. Like, it's an order of magnitude of difference in money.
Are we supposed to be equal? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Of course not.
But it's the Glass-Steagall, man.
But if you look but that's the danger of it though. Like, if you look at these big corporations, I think in the United States, or even internationally, there's only like 7 or 8
major corporations.
Yeah. Nestle is one of them.
Viacom and all that.
Yeah. And like, okay, I want to boycott them. Yeah, good luck. Look at all the subsidiaries, look at all the subsets that they control.
This Barefoot wine is probably owned by Nestle.
I thought about that. Like, remember that soap commercial that was a couple weeks ago? It was that Dove.
Yeah,
they had the white lady wash herself, a black lady wash herself into a white lady. Mm-hmm. Like, and people were talking about boycotting Dove, but how many other products are made by that same company
under Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah, right? So it's like if you don't buy the soap, fine, you're gonna go buy the wipes, and they're gonna be made by that same company, or
if you just go online and just look up some of your favorite companies and keep tracking it back, it's incredible how many branches go back up.
And we're supposed to have laws against monopolies, but the government or the corporations have graded the edges off of those laws. Like, we have monopolies, and our country is suffering because of it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's a lot of influence.
Back to DNC is like Sanders was obviously way more popular than Hillary Clinton,
Even if just for debating.
So, like Jay said, it's no way that it's not the DNC's fault that he is not, that,
y'all messed up.
Exactly. You guys did this, but
is it, how much of it is the DNC's fault and how much of it, like, so they sold out, but it was because they were in so much debt.
Mm-hmm.
So what would have been the alternative? I mean, I guess they could have ran a campaign still
I'd be
in
curious to
debt.
see why they were in debt.
They said because of Obama's campaign and he didn't do his part, but they just.
What was his part though?
I don't know. Wall Street, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what his part was. Like, what was he supposed to do about that? How much money he was supposed to pay back to them? Like, I guess he was supposed to pay back a certain amount of money to the DNC that he used, right? And he didn't. Let's not talk about the stereotypes in that.
I mean, I just think paying. I don't know how I feel about that. I just when you have to pay back or owe people money, that just sounds like corruption to me.
Yeah.
I feel
but that's the thing. Like, so the DNC is supposed to be like the RNC is the same thing for the Republican side. So the function of those organizations is to fundraise for the most popular candidates for the president, right? For the position of president. Like, that's the role. The RNC does the Republicans, DNC does the Democrat side. They fundraise to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a very convoluted system, and it's
if Hillary was getting all the financial backing, you can't really blame the DNC for backing her or not Sanders,
because she paid off their debts,
mm-hmm.
and she was the only one funding them for them to do their jobs. Like I said, they gave them a stipend. Like, in a way, that was a super corrupt contract that I would say, yeah, it was the DNC's fault for taking that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if as a group they didn't realize the pitfalls that could come from that, then I would say hire better lawyers, right? But that was definitely a setup, and Hillary's group, they pulled it off masterfully. Like, that was extortion, and yeah, it was a bad situation they were in, and they took advantage of it.
They did,
and she still lost.
In the end, they still lost. But
it's like, you can't feel that bad about her loss, man. Like, I don't, and
I don't.
Man, Hillary ain't shit, dude. Like, as far as like, when you see something like that, when you see the character of a person who can do that, like 100%, if Trump saw the opportunity, he would take it too. If he could do that, he would do the same thing. But the fact that Hillary tried to push herself as better than Trump, and you saw what her campaign did and what she was okay with, like, bitch, you ain't no better. I mean, stop cursing, but she ain't shit.
Man, who was it who came out last time? What was the chick's name? Sarah Palin. Remember?
Yeah.
Who was running last time with was it another female candidate? Who was running against Palin? It was Obama.
Palin?
Yeah.
Palin? Oh, it was McCain and Obama. Palin was McCain's supposed to be his vice president.
Yeah. And Obama had something where he had like was he running with a female vice president, or where did she come from?
I think it was,
this progressivism of trying to please the masses, or not even progressivism, but trying to look like you're being progressive by having just being different, having a black candidate, a woman candidate, and just you can't blame Trump. He was definitely damn different when all this stuff was going on. Like,
but who's it, good different or bad different? People didn't care.
It doesn't matter.
Like, he's different.
It's just different.
Yeah.
I think for the people, it's like
Obama was good different,
and
bad different.
And the thing is, like, maybe they were just tired of the same thing.
In this day and age, people are just tired of the same shit. So if you can come out and look different, sound different, and do things different, they're gonna vote.
When he said drain the swamp, though, I was like, yo, that's pretty interesting.
But Sanders was different. Sanders was definitely different.
Sanders didn't get the coverage. The people
they screwed Sanders out of it. 100%, dude. Like, this has solidified my stance at 100%. If they had given it, if not given it, if they had been honest, Sanders would have won the position for the Democratic Party to run against Trump, and he would have lambasted Trump. Is that the right word?
Sanders would have been bad for business, because Sanders was against a lot of the corporate agendas.
He would have got the votes. They would have tried to smear him, but his message would have been too clear. They smeared Hillary, dude.
Media is
they smeared
consent.
Trump.
Media is also a corporation.
Media drives the public opinion, and some people don't know beyond what they see on the news.
Sway the public opinion at the same time. But because corporations didn't like Sanders, like I wanted him to win, obviously.
Of course,
they were going to do everything they could.
Here's a question: Is this the whole scenario here? When you said the media being funded by corporations, campaigns funded by corporations, everything, is this a product of? Is this the ultimate downfall of capitalism?
I think this is kind of this is
maybe not the downfall of
negative
capitalism.
side effect.
Maybe the downfall of democracy.
Well, no. I mean, like, is this because capitalism is a means in which the corporations can create themselves in such a powerful position, like not just corporations but businesses, money making enterprises can put themselves in a more powerful position with the only goal of gaining more money, right? So especially when capitalism is that in a nutshell. So with corporations being products of capitalism, right? And them being so masterful and so powerful and having so many lawyers at their disposal. And also the fact that they were able to kind of infiltrate the government through the promises of campaign finances and Glass-Steagall, right? Because of these things, it's like, was this a foregone conclusion? It's like, it's a tricky question, Like, I don't want to say it is, definitely. But I'm thinking it could have been a foregone conclusion. Like, ultimately, in the end, when you give too much power to businesses, ultimately, maybe this was the possibility of something happening. And because we had checks and balances at one point, they're not in power, they're in position anymore.
Unless it's human nature, we're just corrupt, though.
I don't know about that.
Really?
No, I don't think humans are corrupt by nature. I think humans are
corruptible by nature.
They are corruptible, but not corrupt by nature. Like, everybody wants to feed their family, right? And I think greed is something that humans can fall into when they come from a place of like lack, right?
I think that whole idea of scarcity is interesting.
Scarcity, yeah.
Because, like, for example, I think we all have enough to survive. But the thing is, if we see someone else gaining something, we assume that they're taking from us. Yeah. And as a result, we want to try and take from others first, instead of just assuming that we all have enough.
Scarcity is good for business. Keep things scarce, you can control prices.
Like the beer corporation with diamonds.
Everything goes back down to money, like capitalism.
So is capitalism the source of our supposed corruption of our government?
Yes, capitalism is the source. When you start treating corporations as persons, when they can have the same legal rights as you and me, that's a problem, because you can't treat a $500 million a year corporation the same as you treat me. You can't. How can you have the same rights and the way you treat a corporation as a legal entity, as a legal being? It shouldn't be the same as me and you. So in that case, when you can do that, they can control a lot more of the lobbying and opinion, government. I mean, if you have the same company that owns a news corporation financing a Democratic National Convention or party, that's a problem, because then now the opinion is going to be swayed favorably towards the DNC or away from the DNC. Or, I mean, I think if this was a true democracy, right? Somebody broke down the word of democracy once, right? It's like a root word is demos, like it's like the rule of the mob, right? So they gave an example, like I forget what I was watching, man. It said if a group of white people, right, or any people comes up and they want to lynch somebody else, right? That's a true democracy, because the crowd, the numbers want to do this thing to this one individual. So if the crowd says, give us this person, that's a democracy. That's how democracy is supposed to be run. That's where the root of the word democracy comes from. But that's not the way it is, right? I think a lot of people would have voted for Sanders if he was there in the end. If Sanders was on that same ticket as Hillary and Trump at the end, I think he would have got way more votes than both of those two candidates, but he wasn't there.
I mean, to make your point, the fact that we have an electoral college, which is how Trump won, like, if we were running off of base democracy rule, yeah, Hillary would have won, right? She had more votes by 3 million votes. But because we have a electoral college, well, Trump had a bunch of coverage. He just was an asshat. But I mean, if it was a true democracy, we wouldn't have the electoral college. So you're right. To make your point, we don't have a
you know
true
what?
democracy.
I'm tired of you shitting on my boy Trump, man. All right, at least he was funny. Okay, I'm not gonna say he's my boy. All right, let me take that back. Right? At least he was funny. All right, at least he made you chuckle.
Forming alliances with Trump.
At least he made you chuckle when you watched him. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and the reason I brought up Palin earlier is because you see like the copycatting of these people. I mean, you know, what were we talking about? You know, when Trump came out, he's making fun of everybody. And that drew a lot of attention, garnered a lot of attention for him. And then we saw Hillary doing a dance, right? And all of a sudden she tried to get on the black. Yeah, right?
And everybody
so
looked
now
at
she's
it.
trying to look like she's hip and she's
that
with
was
it.
terrible.
And she's
That was so terrible. And everybody in the media,
lost votes.
every person looked at Jones sideways like, what the
Like, what are you
That
doing?
was cringy. That was cringy.
You've never done this type of stuff before. Now all of a sudden,
why would you do that?
you're trying to seem like this is
just-
part of your personality.
It's as disingenuous as it comes, right? Like that's what Hillary was. She
And I
was
think most people-
disingenuous.
that's
and
a good
even
word.
if Trump was, even if he believes his narcissistic, racist, bullshit rhetoric, at least he believes it. We saw Hillary
Don't believe it.
for what she was. Like, we saw her as a shill. She was fake.
That's a
And
good
that's
word.
why people hated her.
That was a good word, man. Disingenuous, because I think for the most part, people can see through that BS, man. We can see through that shit.
Especially nowadays. Like maybe in the 50s and 60s and 70s, maybe it was harder because we didn't have the internet. We weren't so home.
That's what this whole thing hinges on, is the internet, man. People can form their own opinions. When you have, alternative media, I would rather watch anything on TYT than watch anything on News Channel 4.
CNN, man.
You know
like,
what I mean?
I can't
Like,
watch CNN.
I haven't watched a news show in years.
I can't.
If it ain't Sports Center, I haven't watched a news show in years.
And that's cringeworthy.
I mean, even my
MSNBC
sports are
bros.
going more towards alternative media. I'd rather watch it. It's a guy on YouTube named Louis T. Covers all football, all basketball. I'd rather watch him than Sports Center.
Yeah.
Because I like what he talks about and I relate to the dude. You
And
know?
also, like, they're genuine.
They're
right?
genuine, yeah.
They're genuine.
There's no biased
Like, you see
opinion.
them get pissed off.
Yeah.
They're not worried about sponsors. That's the thing.
Especially
That's
with
thing.
especially with the internet and social media now, you can't hide. You can't hide your bullshit. You know, people are gonna dig that shit up and call you out.
I think that's why this whole
Well,
I don't know,
why this
something's
is
going to have to
happening at
change in this system, because it's like people can see through these things now. And, you know, when you start having events like what happened in Las Vegas and what happened, Sandy Hook and
Shit that happened in New York,
Boston
that's
bomber.
all. Oh, New York just happened, man.
And you have people who can do their own individual. Speaking of New York, people can do their own individual investigations outside of what the news media says. This thing is going to fall apart because people are going to start seeing through the lies and the BS. Like, wait a minute, man, you said this before. Now we did some investigating, and it doesn't look like what you said happened. You know,
Like, politicians are really slow on the fact that we can look up your old statements
Or your old voting history.
and your voting history. Like, people can look it up now, guys. So you have to be consistent make a reason. Have a legitimate reason why you're not consistent.
the system has to catch up with the times, and I don't think these guys did not count on the internet. Something, because there's no way that people aren't going to be able to see
Look who
through
was
this shit.
running, dude. All these people are
They're
like
old.
70 years old. All of them.
And the thing is, if you look at, like, if you
No.
look, you know, and you're right, though. People are saying, oh, Bernie's old. He's only like 4 years older than
Yeah.
like everyone else. Like, it's,
He's a little more hunched over, but it's fine. Like, Trump, oh, dude, this is like he's wearing he's this nasty looking person.
Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump to you, Juice, all right? I want you to start using Mr., okay?
Call him Mrs.
But-
Trump.
Speaking of that New York thing, man, they had this
Donnie
guy
Tiny
on
Hands.
YouTube. I don't know if you've seen the video. It might have been Facebook. I saw the video. They had these two news reporters next to each other, right? Split screen, and they were covering the bombing, right? One was in South Manhattan, and one was supposed to be in like North Manhattan, right? And they're supposed to be talking to each other about what's going on and what's this and
What
that.
bombing are we talking about?
The jump that happened in New York, not a bombing, but the guy
the
who
car-
ran into
the
the
car,
crowd,
yeah.
yeah. And it was funny because the guy who was narrating the video pointed out that the same vehicles and the same people are passing each other in the backgrounds of both videos. So they're talking to each other like they're supposed to be reporting from different parts of
that
town.
Shit done before though.
Yeah, so it's like
look at Hillary's
can't be
coverage.
that dumb.
Hillary's coverage, like people would like really crowd around,
And they would focus
trying to make it
camera?
look full,
Yeah.
full or whatever. Yeah, it's like
We see you. We see
you can't be that dumb. Like people are not stupid.
I love that people, when they try to do shit like that people are there to be like, actually, this is a wider view. We panned out, and it looked like it was only 40 people there instead of 2,000. So that's what Trump's crowds be looking like too, though.
Yeah.
Like they do the same thing with Trump's crowds, man.
I
Like,
feel
of
like
course,
every-
some of
I
the
feel
shit,
like
depending
every-
on where he is.
every party does that. Does
Yeah.
make itself look better.
Yeah,
And for
I
the
don't know,
most
but
part-
I saw Bernie Sanders at GMU.
I think he's the exception. Legit, yo, dude. Legit.
That fucking place was packed.
Like,
it
which goes
was
back to the popularity thing.
Yo,
Like straight up, people were upstairs. I was trying to get in. I couldn't get in.
yo. Speaking of George
We
Mason,
were upstairs trying to look through the window.
Speaking of George Mason, right?
the
GMU, right? Like, when Obama came, right, dude, that junk was parking was horrendous. I remember I was on campus, right, when he showed up, and I will never forget his first words. He showed up and he
was like,
he grabbed the mic.
Jay, what
Oh,
up?
boy, Jay, yeah, what's
He said,
good?
he said,
And tell that dude
Jay.
about the podcast.
Obama walked up, right, and
I
he
just
was
want to say
like,
thank you to Jay.
George Mason's in the house.
Yeah.
Oh,
When he
shit.
said that, I was like, really? He's running for president? I'm like, all right, you got my vote. All
Yeah,
right.
you already got it. You
All right,
already
you
got it.
already got it.
Which is kind of not fair because Obama was already down with it anyway. Like Obama,
He was younger.
with
He was
he's down with the hipness of the times, man.
Yo, yeah, I
Jay in
cringed
the
so hard when
house.
Hillary was
I'm like,
doing the nay.
Obama? Check Obama?
When Hillary was dancing on TV, dude, that hurt my heart. I was like, no. Just,
Yeah, I felt sick of that.
No.
Just only because she didn't have a lot of rhythm and she didn't know how to do it. But if she would have had a little more rhythm with it, we might okay. I mean,
It was out of character. It was out of character.
of course, yeah.
Like, for
It wasn't
example,
real.
if Obama
It was
did
just
it,
funny
though, then
because-
it'd be like, okay.
If she'd have line danced, I'd have more respect
Dude, I
for
seen
her.
all
that.
If she'd have played some bluegrass and was line dance, I'd be like, okay. But she was trying to do what? The Dougie? It was some shit she was trying to do.
Obama
Some
was
hip-hop
totally
dance.
different because
You don't
he
even
came
know
out
who the
there.
artist is.
I seen a video of Obama. He came out there and played a pickup game of basketball with some guys at a court.
Right.
That's not fair. They can't match with that. You know, Trump
Right.
can't. If Trump was going against Obama, it would have
Dude,
been
I
a
kinda wish I was there.
McCain couldn't do that.
I kind of wish I was there, though, because, like, dude,
Exactly.
imagine if you crossed up Obama.
You know,
No, they got Secret Service out there. He's
not
crossing
embarrassing in front of that.
He's like, oh, like what? His knee just exploded. I don't know what happened.
You got the ball
His
dribbling.
knee just
Also, you see
exploded.
this little red dot. You're like, you know what? You
Here you go, Obama.
You
Steal.
good? Oh, what a steal.
Yeah.
Oh,
We were talking about that. We saw the video. I was like, man, you know these dudes weren't playing hard against Obama, man. It's Obama out there. I'm not going to cross Obama up. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to let him score. I'm going to let him go to the rack.
And what? And what? Oh, what up?
Yeah, Obama could play basketball.
Yeah, he
man.
could
That's
actually
not
play
fair.
though. He probably smacked that joint out the air.
A little Matumbo?
It's crazy, man. Like, the system is just, it's not, man, I think technology is
old.
outgrowing it. Yeah.
It's old, man.
Because,
We need a change. Like the fact that we can't vote like digitally.
on
The
your
fact
cell
that
phone.
we can't vote digitally, or even at a computer, but cell phone somewhere.
I mean,
that
come
we
on.
can't.
I can purchase things off of Amazon on my cell phone. I should be able to cast a vote for president of the United States on my cell phone too, you know?
Right, you know.
But they don't want you to. You got to go to the specific place, put in this ballot.
But that makes me nervous, too, though, because, like, well,
What's happening to my
on
vote?
both
after that?
sides, yeah. Electronically, what if it got hacked or something?
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, physically, going to the voting booth, we had, like, Bill Clinton and other people kind of, like, blockading,
Mm-hmm.
like, the voting booths. Like, what's up with that? Like,
True.
I don't know.
So maybe the police ain't doing it right. You gotta keep it even, people. I don't know, man. It's a whole thing, but all in all, the DNC fucked up, which fucked up the country. So that's y'all fault.
You know what? I
Hillary
have a
shit.
question for you guys. I have a question.
Hashtag
So after
Hillary.
The country was
Can we use
fucked up
that for
already.
the title? Hillary ain't shit. I just wanna. Is that too much?
Hillary,
As long as you
Hillary ain't
use
shit.
Hillary ain't shit / Mr. Trump on there, okay? As long as you put Mr. Trump in front of that, though, man.
Hashtag Donnie Tiny Hands.
Donnie
Don
Tiny.
Tiny Hands.
yeah, I got a question for you guys. So after all this talk on the DNC, though, are you guys still gonna go and support the DNC?
I got to. Man.
Look, I didn't vote last time, all right? Like, because I didn't believe in this, either one of these candidates, or even the system as a whole, man. I really don't think our influence is going to matter on the outcome of these elections. Like,
But
regardless of who is in that position, the same people who are financing them and putting them in a position to carry out an agenda are still there. We're not voting for the heads of these corporations. We're not voting for these lobbyists. We're voting for a guy who's in front of the camera who says, I'm the president of the United States. But what about the guy standing next to him who's tailoring his speech?
You know what I mean?
What about his handler who's telling him that he needs to, do this certain thing or say that wear this certain pin to show his allegiance to this certain thing? I mean, we don't vote for all
regarding
these
that. You know what I would love? You know how NASCAR always has their sponsors? I would love if politicians came out and just rock sponsors.
Had their sponsors.
Then we would see who has the least amount of sponsors.
And how much each sponsor is doing. Like their whole left side would be just NRA for Republicans. Like your whole left side or your suit would just be NRA.
I don't think that's going to work either, because then you have shell corporations. You have corporations who exist on paper but not actually exist. You put money into this shell corporation, and this corporation is financing this candidate where you try to trace the money back and there's nobody there because that company doesn't really exist. They exist on a piece of paper. If you pull up that piece of paper and or a contract, it'll have that company name on it, but you can't find an address to that company.
So those shell corporations shouldn't be able to donate.
But
because they don't have. They shouldn't be able to. We're talking about an ideal system, right? Like, then they shouldn't be able to, right?
This system is far from ideal.
But
and I felt like last time the presidential election came around, I didn't want to participate in it personally.
But here's the thing,
but I did vote for Obama.
Your fact, like the fact that you said that, right? You felt the same way a good majority of the people did feel, right? And the fact that so many people didn't vote is the primary reason why Trump won the Electoral College. You want to know the numbers on how many people didn't vote compared to the previous years?
But I think that most
it's because not enough people were motivated. Yes,
exactly.
But
that's the candidate's fault. That's Trump and Hillary.
I agree.
That's the party's fault too.
Exactly. They didn't put somebody in there who could garner my interest and get me to support.
I agree with you. Like, it is the candidate's fault because Hillary wasn't shit.
Voting for like the less of two evils. I hate that.
But at the same time, if you don't vote, you get the bigger evil. So would you rather, like, does it make more sense to take the bigger evil because you weren't motivated, or does it make more sense to vote for the lesser evil in hopes of pushing the fucking bigger evil away?
I think for the most part, I see what you're saying, right? You want to vote for the lesser of two evils. I'd rather not vote for that evil at all.
But I don't like fucking paying bills, right? But I gotta pay the motherfuckers to keep my cell phone on, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think, especially in this area where the federal government is so affluent, people have jobs, working 40 hours a week. A lot of times, man, people are looking like I'm not inspired to go out and vote for either one of these two people. I got to go to work. I got school. I got whatever else going on in my life, kids. I think for a lot of, especially in this area, people are just so consumed with just trying to survive that, like, if you don't motivate me to come out and I don't truly believe in what you're saying, it's not going to affect me at the end of the day. I mean, how many people went out and voted for?
But it does.
How many people went out and voted for Hillary or even Trump, and they still got to wake up and go to work tomorrow? If they don't pay their cell phone bill, still gonna be cut off. Like, you're consumed with just trying to live, trying to eat.
I agree, dude.
And that's how they keep us busy and keep us away from. They want us to come out and give your consent, vote for this person, but then go back to your regular life.
It's not they, because they spend millions of dollars campaigning. It's not they, right?
Who spends millions of dollars?
These campaigns. Like, we just spent the whole time talking about how much money they put into these campaigns to promote the advertising for people to come out and vote for these candidates. Now, whether or not the candidates are worth shit, that's a different argument, right? But they do push it for people to for you to be able to come out. And I think that there should be a day off on days that you have to vote.
Oh, it should be.
I definitely think.
Why not?
There should be 100%. But here's the thing, like,
which is ridiculous. That shows me that
there's a fallacy that when you don't vote, or it's a fallacy that it doesn't affect you. Like, it does affect us. Like, it affects us because we have chosen either by hook or by crook. We are in this governmental system. And unless you're about to go up off the grid, then it is going to affect you. The fact that they're trying to change the internet laws right now is a direct result of the fact that we have a Republican president. The fact that we have...
I don't believe that.
No,
they
it's 100%.
They were going to change internet laws whether Obama was in office.
No, because Obama pushed the laws off.
They were still trying to do gun control when they were in.
Until we got another fucking president in here who's like, you know what, fuck it. That's
I don't
you see,
truly
you guys can run
believe
it.
that the
Here's
president
thing.
has as much power as we try to give him. Obama's not pushing anything off. His constituents and the people that he's working for might be trying to push something off.
So if you
But
don't
not
vote for
Obama
them, what does that
specifically.
mean? That means it doesn't affect you still? You have to vote for them too.
We're affected in the long run, right? But regardless of whether who won or who didn't, we're affected in the long run because
We're affected in the short run.
presidents have the
the
option
fact
to
we
go
about
to war.
to
or
go
not.
to war with goddamn North Korea,
We're
that's
in-
a direct result
Obama
of
was
fucking
in war
Trump
with
winning.
Syria, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Iraq. He was involved in those, and you still had to go to work. You still had to take
Yes,
care
I
of your
did
family.
have to go to work, but you
So
know what else?
those
You know
things
what else
affect you,
happened?
but not directly.
It does affect me directly. How much of my tax money is going to that shit? How
Your
much
tax
yours
money is going to go towards anything they want it to go towards. It's taxes.
Again,
So
so
whether they-
again, how much
So
we
it
pay in
affects you, but you
again,
don't see
how
that.
much we pay in taxes
What are your taxes
is an
going towards
effect
now?
of the government in
They're
power.
going towards North Korea defense and the security of these
Again, dude, the fact that
military
how much,
bases in
how
other
much,
countries,
how
but
much
we
of
don't
your
care. We
taxes
still gotta go to
goes,
work.
the effect of how much of your taxes
We
goes
don't have
depends
control
on
over taxes.
It depends on the institution and power
You know
at
where
the
taxes
moment.
go to? They go to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is an independent company. Do you know that there was a guy, Alan Greenspan, who said that he was the former head of the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure who it is now, but he's on record as saying whoever the president of the United States is does not matter because the Federal Reserve does not answer to any government agency. All right. The Federal Reserve, the IRS, these guys are bigger than the president. Like, the president has to pay taxes on whatever money he's earned outside of his presidential post. Donald Trump has had to pay taxes. You pay these people.
So we're in
banking.
debt, right? But you know what? You know what also matters again is who's in power depends on how much debt we increase. How much of the $1 trillion
Debt will never go anywhere because our debt that's what our money is based off of.
We can decrease it or we can increase it. So all of these things matter, D. Like I hear what you're saying, but the fact is that they all actually fucking matter. Depending on your vote, and which depends upon who is in power, which governmental situation is in power, whether Democrat or Republican
who won
or
that
independent.
this past
matters.
election, it was not going to change the fact that you have to pay taxes.
We do
so
have to
it
pay
doesn't
taxes.
matter if
That's
Hillary
not
was
the
in there.
argument,
You might still have to pay something toward North Korea.
Taxes regardless. That is not the argument.
I guarantee if Hillary had won this campaign,
Is it how much?
It's how much?
Guarantee if Hillary had
have
won
to
this
pay taxes
campaign,
100%
we would still
regardless.
be in it with North Korea right now. Guaranteed. Hillary is not going to. It doesn't matter if Trump is there. If President Obama was still there, we'd still be having.
You can't make that statement because that's just first of
on,
all,
man.
that's just an assumption.
Juice.
So that's not even true.
The president
How
of the
the
United
fuck-
States has limited
Is Hillary
power.
gonna call
Hillary
Kim
doesn't
Jong-un
do
Rocket Man?
anything. You think Donald Trump is the one over there deciding
Who's
what we
calling
do
Kim
about North
Rocket
Korea?
Man? Yes.
No, Juice.
No, it's because
Juice.
he's
Donald Trump does not control the money.
He's instigating. If you're looking
It's
at
banking,
if you're looking at
D.
what the president says,
finances.
and Trump and Kim Jong Un's responses to his people, they are direct
That's all
correlations based
political
on
propaganda,
language.
dude.
No, it's not
It doesn't-
propaganda.
Juice.
There is propaganda, D, but that's not it.
We were in the Middle
You
East
can't
before
conflate
Trump was a
everything
part
into
of the.
just the lump of propaganda. It's not the same thing. There are different segments.
We were in the Middle East before Trump was president. We were in the Middle East before Obama was there.
Hey, will
it
we
was
be in the
going to
Middle
happen
East?
regardless.
Will we be in the Middle East if McCain if Mitt
Yes.
Romney had won?
Yes.
You don't
Juice.
know that, dude.
Yes.
You
we
fucking
would
don't
have.
know that. You're just saying shit.
Dude.
Like, you're not making that doesn't
Juice.
make sense. You can't say yes
This is
because
bigger
Mitt Romney
than the
had a different
president
agenda
of the
to what
United States.
Mitt
When
Romney
you, when you
didn't
have
run-
money,
Mitt Romney
money
didn't
falls
run an
under
oil company.
Money falls
Fucking
under
the Bushes did.
international
So it's like,
maritime
if we're
law.
talking about
It's a flow of money. Okay,
Dude,
so
you can't say that
war
because
is good for money. Okay, war is good for business.
Good for the
okay?
economy.
So regardless of who is the president of the United States, if war is good for business, you will have wartime areas in whatever part of the
If you
country.
go back a couple
That's
years,
your best
Bin Laden
assumption.
was also.
That's
indicted.
not an assumption. That's a fact. It's been
not
happening.
This is not fucking fact.
That's
Look,
not
look,
an
yes.
assumption. It's
So
a
war
fact,
is
bruh.
good for the economy. Agreed.
Okay.
We can agree on
Okay,
that.
so-
but the fact that our government is set up on a situation where we have been warned to not go into perpetual war because it destroys our democracy.
Who said that? It wasn't Trump. It wasn't
It
Obama.
was it was Thomas Jefferson.
Dude, that's 205 years ago, dog. Like that. Those,
But it
those
fucking
models are
hey.
gone.
So do you see it? Do you see it?
How
do you
many
see it
wars have
acting,
we had
Do you
since
see
then?
it acting now? Because it's the same situation now. They set up the government. They know what the fuck is going to happen.
The
And they
Federal
called
Reserve-
it. He called it back 205 years ago. So the fact is, if you're talking about the look, ultimately the argument is whether or not our votes matter. Your argument is that they don't. I disagree.
No.
I think that
they matter on who's in that position, but it doesn't matter what that position will do or carry out once whatever person is in that position. If you vote,
Agreed.
And to your point, they don't matter because Hillary won the popular vote.
I agree with that.
So Hillary won the popular vote. So you're saying votes matter, but Hillary won the voting contest. But
We
Trump
agreed
is the
earlier
president.
that we don't have an actual democracy because of the electoral college.
So how do our votes matter?
Because they do matter. Because you have to have over a certain number.
No, you don't. Trump won.
Because we don't have an actual democracy, D.
There you go. Our votes don't matter.
But
You
they
know what
do
I'm saying?
matter.
Like,
First
the
off,
votes matter in a democracy.
First fucking off.
Just like-
First the fucking off.
They
First
matter in
fucking
democracy.
off. First fucking off. We don't have an electoral in our local. We don't have an electoral college in our local voting. So first off, that's fucking not even relevant. Second off, you have to have, they set the electoral college for a reason. And I agree 100% that it doesn't need to exist. But the fact that it does exist means there's something we have to deal with. And how did Obama win if our votes don't matter? It's because enough people voted for a certain person. And because he won enough, he won enough of those sections of territory, which the electoral college is based off of.
Let me ask you this.
Which means that the votes in those sections in that territory do matter. You have to win by section of territory those electoral colleges to win the presidency.
Because you need public consent to
People
do
who
things.
didn't vote.
You need people to say,
let me
that's
finish
okay.
my statement. Let me finish my statement. People who didn't vote in those smaller sections. The people who didn't vote in those smaller sections seceded those or gave those smaller sections to Trump, which is what he used to win the fucking electoral college was made him president. So yes, your fucking votes do matter. It's not 1-to-1, but it's a fucking setup in which
Hillary won the popular vote
because she won it on the coast because the number.
It doesn't matter why she won it. She won it.
No, it does matter why she won it, D. And the fact that you're saying that means you don't care about the topic.
She won it.
Like. The fact that you're saying
So,
that
like,
means you
if
don't
the-
care
if
about
the
the topic. If you don't
democracy
want to
matters and our votes
understand,
matter-
if you don't want to understand how the system works, then maybe you shouldn't
If
vote.
a democracy
right?
matters
But
and our votes matter, why did the person
if you
who
want to
won the
understand
popular
how
vote
the
not win the
system
presidential
works,
seat
if
of the
you want
United
to
States?
understand how the system works, you need to educate yourself so you know why your votes matter and not just think that everything is 1-to-1 because it's not.
Right. Look, I'm gonna let you say whatever you want, Juice. Okay.
Based on
Hillary
facts.
won the popular vote.
Based
Okay?
on facts.
You can't deny that.
Based
you
on
can
facts.
say why she did because this person didn't vote over here and that person didn't vote over there. Fine.
Yes,
she won.
which is why
And she didn't win the
that's
presidency.
Exactly, because this person didn't vote over here and that person didn't vote over there. That's why she lost.
All right, but she lost.
That's why she lost president. Why she
Not
lost the
based
presidency.
upon popular opinion. She lost.
So should we?
No, it is.
Should we end the electoral college then?
We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice over whether the electoral college ends or
Actually,
not. Why do we not vote for the people who are on the electoral college? Do you know who's on the electoral college?
We have amendments for a reason.
Why do we
The
not?
government set up amendments for a reason. We
Let
have
me
to
ask you a
have
question.
enough states. See, that's the thing. You
Let me ask
fucking
you a
say
question.
shit, D.
Let me ask you a
You don't
question.
know what you're talking about.
Let me ask you a
Like,
question.
trying to
Why
know
do
for
we
years.
know who the candidates for the
We
president of
have
the
to have
United States
enough
are?
states to back up the amendment. We get enough states to back up the amendment. We can change the electoral college.
why don't we
But
have enough states to back up the amendment?
Maybe because enough people don't think or their votes don't matter.
Listen, Juice.
Maybe because of that.
Why do we know who the presidential candidates were, but we don't know who the members of the electoral college are? Why are these people not popularized and publicized like the presidential candidates
It's the
are?
age of the
They
internet.
should be.
It's the
Because at
age
the
of
end of
the
the day,
internet.
they can
Google
pick
that
the
shit.
president of the United States.
Google
Why
that
do I have to
shit.
Google it? I should be able to look at News Channel 4 and see it. They should be on there.
Are we
They should
talking
be on
about
the
media
screen.
now? What
You
we
know
talking
why?
about? Are we talking about media now or political system?
You know why, Juice? Because the people don't truly
I agree.
run
I
the
genuinely
government.
agree with you. I genuinely agree with what you're saying. But the fact that you're thinking that our votes don't matter is
Dude,
incorrect.
a vote is one thing. Activism in government is another, okay?
And that matters
If you
too.
let the mob rule the government, right? Of course, they're going to want to pass laws that take away power and wealth and money and spread them amongst other people and take it out of a concentrated few hands, right?
No, run that back. What?
If you let people truly run the government,
Mm-hmm.
the people will vote in a way that will take power, influence, money out of the concentrated hands of a few people, right? Who control the DNC and the RNC and who are financing these campaigns.
And what if people
they will
did
vote
that?
to take that money away?
And what if you?
So
and
why
what
would they
if
let
people
us
did
control
that,
it?
D? And what if people did that?
Why would they let us control it? Why would
Because
they let
people
us
don't
do that?
vote. Because people don't vote. That
Your
doesn't
vote
happen.
is only going to go so far. Your vote is this
of
much.
course, because it's a vote.
I would say most.
Of course, it only goes so far because
Bruh,
it's a vote. By
I'm just
definition,
saying- I'm
it
just
only goes so
saying-
far because it's a vote.
Listen,
you
we
don't
can
vote
move
for
on.
50 people.
I'm just
you
saying
vote for
that-
one, and your vote matters to a mass.
I'm
But
just
most
saying
people
that
are
on a
dumb
grand
though. I would say
scale.
the national person who's not college educated, no offense to people in the rural country though, but they don't know much about economics. They don't know much about like politics and stuff.
But that's the way the system is set up. They should be taught that. We should be taught about economics and finances and money and the way government works in school. That should be something.
And also, that's partially the reason why
that's why they don't teach it to you. They don't want you to know.
That's actually why we have the electoral college. Is to give minorities and small marginalized groups a bigger voice.
Even if the marginalized group is
it doesn't always work out in our favor, as you see in this last election, though. But in the past, it gave minorities a right to vote. Because if you look at like the percentages, black people only make up 13% of the population. You know what I'm saying? So as a result, like you guys want to have a bigger vote. Minorities like Hispanics or like Asians or whatever, we need to have a bigger vote. We only make up a couple percentages. But then,
in fact, meaning your votes do matter.
I don't think things are so black and white though. I think that I
don't think they do.
I think they matter to a certain extent, and I think also
to an extent. Yes.
I think to a certain extent. I don't think they
saying
always matter.
Listen,
I think that to a certain extent they do matter.
Why do we only have two parties in government?
I agree.
Why do we have to vote for either Republican or Democrat? Why was Bernie Sanders waffling on whether he wanted to run as a Democrat or not? He knew he would have to run as a Democrat because if he didn't, he would have been choked out. We don't have any options. You have to vote for one or the other.
But why?
You know why they limit your options? So that it's easier for them to control.
Hey, if you voted for Jill Stein, your vote would have meant something.
Did you truly want to vote for Hillary Clinton?
No, I didn't.
But you did.
Yeah.
So your vote matters for somebody you didn't care about.
So why did you vote for Jill Stein? Just curious.
What do you mean so?
Huh?
Why did you vote? Yeah, just curious.
Because Virginia's a swing state. That's why I voted for Hillary Clinton. Because there were enough people here in the southern areas that we could have lost the electoral college in Virginia.
So you're looking for the bigger picture.
Bigger picture.
Gotcha.
I voted for Jill. I understand, and I'm not saying everything is all doom and gloom, but at the end of the day, this country is ran by the rich minority who don't care about your little individual opinion. They don't care about an idea talking podcast.
I agree.
Opinion.
I agree. I fucking agree.
We can all agree. We can all agree right now. We can all agree right now, right? That my
conclusion is different.
If you went through a popular vote and you said, "Should we be in war in Syria?" Right? Just a general question. Should we be at war in Syria, bombing people, Yemen, bombing towns and homes? Popular opinion would be no. Right?
Definitely not.
But we are.
Yes.
So that shows that at the end of the day, your opinion and what you want does not matter. The agenda is going to be carried out regardless.
But the people you put in power, their decisions do matter. Their decisions do matter.
You don't make decisions.
But your discussion, by your point, you're saying that Trump and Obama are the same person. Yes. That it doesn't matter. It's not true. Because you can see by their policies, by the things they've done.
I think they're influenced by the same
different.
They have the same people backing them.
Trump's viewpoint on healthcare and Obama's are different.
That's fine, but Obama's campaign influencer, biggest campaign contributor, might have been the same as Trump's. Or
all right, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. But here's the thing. So
it's bigger than that.
I think the conclusions are different. One conclusion is that your votes matter marginally, and therefore you should vote in order to try to enact some change in what you would prefer.
If you truly want to change the system,
the other viewpoint is that your votes don't matter.
Why
bother?
If you truly want to change the system,
and let it happen to you,
when you want to change something in the corporation,
the difference. Those two things. Whether or not you want to try to enact some kind of change with your marginal, with your vote of limited meaning, or whether you're just going to let shit happen to you.
If you want to change something in a corporation, right? What did they do in civil rights? They boycotted the bus company, right? What did the boycott make them do? They had to bend to the will of the people because they were losing money. If you truly want to change a system, boycott the voting process, Juice. Don't participate, okay? That's the way you change and influence what is going on in government.
You don't participate in
the fuck no. You don't.
What the hell? D, that's a terrible idea. If you're gonna D,
so you would rather go vote for somebody you don't believe in over not voting at all?
I would rather vote for somebody.
That's crazy.
I would rather vote for somebody I marginally agree with over somebody I absolutely disagree with.
Why? Why should you have to vote for either one of those people? You don't believe that either one of them are going to truly bring change.
Your argument here's the fucking flaw in your argument. Let me say the shit. The flaw in the argument of not voting means people who it's not just you who's boycotting. Like you said, boycotts only matter when you have a lot of people doing. Boycotts only matter when you have 150,000 people doing it. Right? So 150,000 people not voting means what? That means that people who do give a fuck about shit that you dislike get a stronger portion of the pie. Their shit means more because you didn't vote.
But you didn't believe in either candidate.
You're not. Here's the thing: because you don't. The reason
I'm going to go vote because they say, "Hey,
the reason
these two people you
I don't
have
know
to
how
choose
you don't
from.
understand that.
You have to pick from these two people. Although you don't like either one of them, you got to pick from one of these two. Well, why can't I pick from the third? Why can't I go to Bernie Sanders?
Either Hitler or
Pol Pot's.
No, because not even that. Because here's the thing,
man.
It's either Hitler or fucking I don't know.
How do you not
Malcolm
see the
X.
flaw in that system?
Hitler or Malcolm X, right?
Who's Malcolm X in this
as a white guy?
situation?
And as a white guy,
Who's Malcolm X? Wait. Who's Malcolm X? Hillary is supposed to be Malcolm X?
No,
And
I'm
Trump's
not.
supposed to be
No,
Hitler?
I'm saying Hitler is Hitler and Malcolm X is Malcolm X, right?
How do you make that comparison? We're
Right,
talking about the
so a white
presidential
person,
election process.
a certain white person, a person of a certain class will be like, "Oh hell, no, I'm not voting for Malcolm X. I like Hitler because we agree
and if
on
Malcolm
some
X
shit."
was running against
Right.
Trump, I think it would have been a landslide.
But let's say all the black people were like, "Well, I don't like either one in particular. I'd rather have Martin."
What black person would say they don't like
Here's
Malcolm
the
X?
thing.
You got to pick a different guy because Malcolm X is. Come on, man. Come on, dude.
I don't know how you're not following the analogy. Like,
Would you have voted for
both
Malcolm
of
X
the
or
motherfuckers
Obama?
are dead, D.
If Malcolm X was
Most of
running
the
for
motherfuckers
president
are
as Obama,
dead.
who'd you gonna vote
That's
for?
not bad.
If you want to follow with the analogy. So the idea is, let me finish what I'm saying. So the idea is that, say some people would rather have Martin Luther King over Malcolm X. So their decision, we're not going to vote, right? We're not going to vote for Malcolm X because we have Martin Luther King. But all the people who
Martin Luther King was running versus Malcolm X, you would have definitely picked one of the two.
all the people who are voting for Hitler are like, fuck it, I'm going for Hitler, right?
I'm going for Hitler. This analogy is going. Hitler and Malcolm X are two total different ends of the spectrum. You can't say that about Hillary and Trump.
But Hitler and Malcolm X were both radicals.
You voted for,
they're both radicals. Listen, they're both radicals.
You did not like the person that you voted for.
Bad analogy is obviously too complicated to get through.
You did not like the person that you voted for.
I'll
That
drop
proves my point.
I'll drop the analogy.
The
idea is that
I agree with
I
boycotting.
refuse to vote for somebody I do not like.
So boycotting works, but
companies.
in voting sense, though, is there a better way then that we can have our voices heard?
Boycotting your vote gives somebody else a bigger portion. It gives them effectively your vote.
I do agree with that. So
that's what it effectively does. Boycotting your vote effectively gives somebody else your measure of the vote of the voting.
So what's the alternative? That's what I want to know. I need to know if there's a better way to get a
vote earlier. Try to enact some change. Try to be an activist. Get involved. Don't back out. That's the solution. Be involved. If you want to
so
change
more
the
marches,
system.
Speeches.
More
they
marches,
don't give a fuck about marches
find an
or
organization.
speeches.
Find an organization in which you can agree with their policy specifically and support that.
They don't give
organization.
a fuck about marches or speeches. Dog.
No, they don't.
They
That's
care
what I'm
about
saying.
money. It's fiscal. It's financial.
So where does money come from, D?
It comes from the backers of these.
It comes from our pockets.
And there you go. And you still got to pay your bills.
All money of these corporations comes from the pockets of the common people.
There you go.
So what do? If you want to boycott those corporations you don't like.
I mean,
right?
what is money?
That's hard though, because
it's hard, but it's not fucking impossible.
What is money?
You know, it's a lot. It's hard, but it's better than not voting.
Okay, so I'm not gonna. So it's better than not voting for a person you don't like.
Huh?
You didn't like Hillary. You did not believe in the candidate that you cast your vote for, yet you voted for her anyway. That does not make any sense.
Because I dislike Trump more. I don't know how this is hard.
I don't get it. I don't like either one. I don't like either one. So why should I pick one? I don't like either person.
So by effect, you're saying it's okay to give. By effect, you're saying it's okay to give your vote to somebody else.
They're putting these two people.
Okay,
I'm not giving my vote to anybody else.
But you did.
What about third party?
Okay, well, I gave my vote to somebody else who I didn't care anything about either candidate.
But
they're putting two people in front of you. You're saying I don't like either one, but if I got to pick one, I'm gonna pick the one that I like more than the other one. I don't like either one, but I'm gonna pick the one. Why? That seems crazy to me. Why do you have to pick the one that you don't like less than the other one? Like, I mean,
if you had a choice to, you know what? I can't think of a good analogy right now.
We can move on. Okay.
I can't think of a good analogy right now.
Because Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was not a good, or Hitler and Malcolm X was not a good analogy, dog. Come on.
I don't know why you couldn't follow it, because you weren't talking.
No comparison.
But okay.
There's no comparison.
If you think it through, it would have worked.
I'll just say this to prove my point. You specifically, who was arguing so vehemently about this, you did not like the candidate that you voted for.
No.
Yet you cast a vote for that person.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense to me. I'll let you guys form your own opinions.
In
Drop
fact,
a comment or whatever you want.
You voted for whoever somebody else voted for.
No, I didn't vote for anybody.
In effect, you voted for Hillary too.
And
Because Hillary won, D. At the end of the day, Hillary won. In fact, you voted for Hillary too.
At the end of the day,
no, I'm saying, in effect, you voted for Hillary too because you gave your vote away.
At the end of the day, you voted for the person that you didn't like, right? And that person didn't win.
And so did you.
And that person didn't win.
Then she didn't win the presidency. She won Virginia.
It doesn't matter. She's not the president of the United States. She's writing books about why she lost.
She won Virginia though. So
but she's writing books about why she lost.
Hey man, look what we all lost, didn't we?
We lost as soon as they put these two candidates up there as presidential candidates.
Instead of giving your vote to somebody else to vote for Hillary.
So I gotta vote for somebody I don't like.
Right. I mean, in effect, you gotta vote. Either you vote for somebody you choose, or somebody else votes.
We didn't choose them.
You.
We didn't choose them, Juice. We didn't choose them.
How do we choose?
I voted for somebody I chose to vote for. That's
you would have rather had Sanders, right?
I would have rather had Sanders.
There you go. That proves the Democrat. That proves the presidential election process right there.
Don't prove shit, D.
Sanders was choked out because of money. He was choked out because he couldn't.
Not because he couldn't, because financially the DNC was corrupt.
He was a populist.
There you go. That proves my point. So you voted for a corrupt institution, a corrupt party that's backing a candidate.
Yeah, B.
And you voted for that person.
But D. Fucking Obama beat goddamn Kerry. So by that argument,
the Democratic, the DNC is corrupt.
It's not because Obama had more money.
Obama came out of the DNC.
It's not because Obama had more money than Kerry.
So you voted for Obama, who was backed by a corrupt Democratic National Convention. The same people who were there before are there now.
The people who donated to the Democratic Convention and the people who voted for Obama won because Obama was a populist and because they liked what he was saying, not directly because of money. I'm not saying money's not an element. I'm not saying money is not an element. That's not what I'm saying. And let me say it again. I'm not saying money is not an element. I'm not saying money's not an element.
So you voted.
But what I am saying is that populism matters, and people who vote because they like the candidate matters, and people who vote because they would rather vote for the lesser of two evils, that vote matters as well. So because if you don't vote, that means you're giving your fucking vote away to somebody else who's going to take up your slice of the pie because you didn't participate.
So me not participating means I voted for Trump.
No, it means you voted for Hillary in Virginia. But ultimately, it just means that Trump, that people like you who didn't vote.
So more people,
why Trump won.
Look, more people voted for one candidate over another. Mm-hmm. Yet the candidate who didn't get the most votes is president.
Oh, we talking about electoral college again?
Mic drop.
Do we have to go back to electoral college again?
Because it matters, dude. It matters.
Ain't no mic drop.
It matters. It matters.
God damn it,
dude. It matters though. All right, so, the electoral college matters in this whole process.
It does matter.
If they can come in and trump your vote.
Do I need it? All right, let me explain again how the electoral college works. Because it's broken down by sections, right? So people who vote in a certain direction in a certain area, which is that area's electoral college vote.
I'm curious. Regarding sections, though, what about gerrymandering?
That's the thing, too. And I think they're working on passing a couple laws.
Because that in itself has been fucking up the government, too, though, including local government.
Especially with the Republicans. It's giving Republicans a huge edge. But ultimately, none of this shit matters in the face of a actual populist. The only reason Trump won is because, like it or not, he was a populist and he was different.
All right, this according to Wikipedia. How does the Electoral College work for dummies? The candidate who receives a majority of electoral votes, 270, wins the presidency. The number is 538, is the sum of the nation's 435 representatives, 100 senators, and 3 electors, given to the District of Columbia. Every 4 years, voters go to the polls and select a candidate for president and vice president. So I'm not seeing anything here on this definition about it being broken down into areas. I'm seeing that it's broken down by how many representatives you have, senators, and hang on, I just
where did senators come from?
I clicked on it comes from this definition that I pulled up on
No, like senators represent an area.
I mean, yeah, but
so you vote for
do you know any senators? Did you vote for any senators? But they're there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, dude. Like, you have to take this into account.
Idea talker.
Yeah, we're gonna break it down.
You can't blindly participate in this thing just because people are products of habit.
I'm
right?
not blindly participating.
People are products of habit, right? So
I'm not blindly participating. I've educated myself into it.
Human nature is
Wikipedia
doing what you've seen done your whole life, right? people will celebrate Christmas not really knowing why they're celebrating Christmas. They just know that they've done it since they were kids, and that's the way things are done, right?
Or where it comes
So it's the
from.
same thing with voting for a president. It's people will vote just because this is what we do. This is why we participate in government. This is how.
So,
it's just
so
because
the
it's something
counter to
that's
that
always
is
done.
not voting. Because why?
Yes, because you don't believe in this corrupt political system and the way that things are done and handled. That's why.
So
why do you
but you have to
participate in
limit-
something you don't believe in?
But you will. But by that definition, you're saying you don't want to participate, but you're allowing things to happen to you. If
Things
you're
are going to
with- if
happen
you're okay with
regardless,
that-
Juice. This
if
is the
you're
system
okay
we
with
were
that-
born into.
If you're okay with
Things
that,
were
then
happening to our
fine.
parents and our grandparents by the
there's
same
a reason.
system.
There's a reason our government doesn't make it mandatory to vote like other countries do. Right? It's because you have the right to hold that opinion.
Freedom
if you
of
would
speech.
rather, right? It's freedom of speech. If you would rather be okay with not putting your input into the system, but having things just happen to you, that's part of your freedom of speech. That's why it's not mandatory. In Belgium, everybody.
Belgium is a way smaller country than the United States.
But
That's not a fair
everybody
comparison.
has to vote.
Scandinavian countries are smaller than
Other countries, there are other countries. You have to
they're
vote.
not as big as the United
It
States.
doesn't fucking matter, dude.
Do you
Like
think
what
we
I'm
should?
saying is that it
Do
doesn't.
you think we should?
No, because like we just said, it's freedom of speech, right? So
that
if
does
you're-
matter. You gotta take numbers
But
into
imagine
account.
what you're conceding, or just know what you're conceding to.
Okay. We can
what
move
you're
on if
conceding
y'all
to.
want.
No, like what you're conceding to is that you're allowing things to happen to you, and you don't want to have any input into it. Even if your input is only minimal, you don't want it. You don't want it.
Things are gonna
I
happen
grew up Jehovah's
regardless.
Witness. So
Things are gonna
I grew up
happen
Jehovah's
regardless,
Witness.
dude.
So Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote because they don't believe in this system. They believe in a theocratic, godly system, right? They don't vote. And I grew up doing that and not voting because it was the practice of the religion, right?
You
There are
participate in this system when you eat, when you spend money. Do you know money is a medium of exchange, right? So
My
they
point I'm making-
they
that
took
doesn't matter.
commerce
My
from
point
me
I'm
trading
making
one for you
is
trading
that
one to us having to
if
chase
you're,
this
if
paper
you're
bill.
okay with that, then fine, leave it at that. And nobody's going to force you to vote, right? But know what you're signing over to.
Know who
Know
you're
what-
voting for and don't vote for people that you don't like. That's what I would say. I mean, don't vote just because they say you have to and you feel like you should
But
pick
you
a person.
don't have to.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to.
So you don't. Okay, so you're okay
There you
with
go.
that, what shit just happening to you. Okay.
But
fine.
I would rather not vote than vote for somebody I don't like.
Okay,
That's
so
what I'm
you
saying.
would rather just be okay with shit happening to you. Okay, fine.
Dude, shit is going to
a-
happen anyway, regardless. It does not
But
matter.
your
what
input
you-
can matter. Your input can change that
Can.
a little bit. It
Can.
can change it as much as your single vote in a country of 6 billion people matters. So yes, it can change
It can.
a little bit.
Yeah. When money stops flowing,
And if
when money
you-
stops changing hands, that's when it
dude.
ultimately
No,
matters.
It's fine. Like
You can have
we're
2
on the
million
same
people
page. I
march
think
on
we're in
DC
agreement here.
tomorrow.
I think we're in agreement here.
You can have 2 million people march on DC tomorrow, and it's not going to matter because the next day they know everybody's going to go back to work and things are going to go back to normal. You got to go back to work. You're a participant in the system.
Do you know
have to go
why
back.
my marches of 2 million people would matter?
Why?
Because that just dictates how those 2 million people are going to vote in the future. That's why it matters.
That's
But
a
they might
whole
not
4
vote,
years
though.
from now.
Oh, well, if 2 million people don't vote, then they just giving their 2 million votes away to.
Well, I meant that
to the
like
alt-right.
just because you
I
march
think-
doesn't mean that you actually
Honestly,
vote. Though.
in the realm of
Just because you march doesn't mean you actually vote, though.
It doesn't mean that.
In the realm of popular opinion.
what is
I would hope.
What
I
is
would
the
hope they
signal
do.
of what is the signal of a march of 100,000, 2 million people? What is the signal? What is it saying? That there's a mass majority of people in this country who make up the citizenship, who even if only 50% of them voted, would still be 1 million votes for somebody, right? Or against somebody. That's the signal. Marching is a signaling. It doesn't do anything. They're not tearing shit down.
marching is a signal
It's
for
a
what?
signaling for your political position, for what you support or don't support. That's all it is. People like bashing marching like it's
I don't
like
think
they're
it
like it's a
matters,
militia.
dude.
It's not a militia.
People can march that we don't want to go into North Korea, but if they find a reason to go into North Korea, they're going to do it. It's
We
just-
did that with Vietnam.
but you know what's going to happen in the next
Vietnam
election?
happened.
That person
Same
who
thing.
went into North Korea won't be elected.
It doesn't matter who's elected because the people who are behind them, who are financing them, who are paying their way into that political office are still
Nobody
going
wants
to
to
be
go to
there.
war with North Korea, D.
Nobody wants to go to war in Syria, Juice. But we're there.
We are there.
There we go. Their agenda is still being carried out regardless.
Who is they?
Exactly. Who is they?
The fuck up.
Who are the people? Who are the,
The
people who are
Illuminati.
behind- You think Trump
The
is
NWO.
truly in power? You
Dude,
think
no.
Donald Trump is truly in power in this country, Juice?
I don't think
honestly.
Trump's in power of half of his bowel
I think.
functions.
Do you think Hillary
But
would have truly
I
been
think-
in power?
I
No.
don't know.
No. There's no way.
I know that. Here's what I do
would think in the
know. I
realm
do
of
know
popular
that.
opinion,
I do know
people
that
agree
your
with me
opinions.
because way more people didn't vote this past election, right? So I think people woke up and was like, you know what? I don't like either
Hey,
candidate.
way
Why should
more
I
people
care?
didn't vote this election, and who the fuck we got as president?
Well, it doesn't matter who the popular opinion was.
Donnie Tiny Hands.
Enough people voted that more people voted for Hillary.
He won the Electoral College.
Why? Why does the Electoral College become a thing this election? Right? Why
It's
wasn't there a closer
it's not
race?
just this election.
Why
How
wasn't
do you
there?
think fucking Bush became president?
Why wasn't there a closer?
Bush became
Did
president
Bush
because
become
fucking
president and because?
yes,
You sure?
yes.
Al Gore should have.
Yeah, Gore.
Well, Gore. I think Gore won the popular vote.
Let's do some research.
He
on
won
that.
the
I'm not
popular
sure.
vote, but he lost the Electoral College.
This is the second time it's happened, I believe.
Yeah, this isn't the first time, and it was another
Let me
president
see.
before that. Like, this is how Republicans win.
But
I don't know.
back
Let's
to
see.
a couple minutes ago, I want to know who these Electoral College people are, because I think that should be publicized. I think that be
You can find out, like, it's on the internet, dude. I don't know. I can't tell you who they are. Like, I mean, it's a number for every state.
This is a rhetorical question. I mean, like, I kind of want to know. I wish that they would be more publicized. I think that it should be kind of like put out there.
Here's the thing, like, even dealing with Bernie Sanders, like, we saw when we looked at the super delegates, we got a crash course on that. Like, and if anybody, we were young during the Bush and
Oh, you guys are right.
Romney
Yeah,
and the
Al Gore
Gore.
definitely was supposed to win in 2000.
He should have.
So if we were young during that time, but people who are old enough should have had the same crash course, right? They got the same crash course on the fuck the electoral college can fuck you over, and that wasn't the first. There was another Republican president before that who won based on electoral college.
I think
don't know,
that
but-
this is just side topic, but I think public schools should teach more about banking, economics, even voting, politics, how to vote.
They want to keep the populace ignorant so that they don't know how to invest money and save money and not get into debt. They need debt to keep the system going. Our currency is a debt-based currency. If nobody owes anybody anything, our money is not worth anything. It's exchange. It's the flow of money. You have to keep people paying, money flowing to other hands to keep the value up. If everybody just gets their dollars and holds on to it, it's not going to be worth anything. Yep, yeah, y'all definitely right. Al Gore lost because of the Electoral College.
That's why, no.
I don't know, man. Listen, we can move on. We're never going to agree on this. I think this is probably the second or third argument me and Juice have gotten in about this whole
I think
thing.
we do agree.
I think we do
It's
agree
just the
to a-
conclusions
I think
our
it's-
conclusions we draw from it are different.
Again, I don't think it's black and white. I don't think things are so black and white. I think, to a certain extent, votes do matter. But at the same time, though, when you do vote, where does that vote go to? It doesn't go to an actual candidate. It may go to, like, a corporation instead backing it. So again, like, I think it's not just a voting system. I think everything needs to be revamped. I think, like, the Electoral College needs to be relooked at, reanalyzed. I think the way that we pick our governors, the way that we pick our president, I think that the way that we pick our people who we elect should be reanalyzed. I think that everything should be reanalyzed because what has been happening is that what's worked past couple hundred years doesn't necessarily work now.
Yeah, this system was set up
it's evolved.
hundreds of years ago.
changed.
Yeah,
I mean, what Thomas Jefferson said was correct, but that's a couple hundred years ago. Now, like
and Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, so let's end it right there.
So things are different now. So things are
He did. Discussion that we're talking about. God damn.
So things are different now. So I think that we as a people,
Yeah, we were throwing smoke screens and shit.
What if Hillary
I think
owned
he
slaves?
just dropped a
What if-
smoke bomb in it.
What if Hillary owned slaves? What if it came out that like you voted for Hillary and then Hillary like had a
super predator
20
comment.
20 slaves?
It's equivalent nowadays of owning slaves. The super predator comment.
so I think people should be doing more to educate themselves, in which to change the systems in which that are in place right now.
And don't listen to Alex Jones.
Alex Jones is a crackpot, but some of the stuff he's saying is kind of
Crackpot, crackhead,
He is a
Cracker.
crackpot though. That dude
Cracker.
is crazy.
cracker.
Speaking of crackers,
All right, yeah, we can move on. That was a long
what
ass
is
topic.
what is a better or what's your favorite derogatory?
I just want to say
Wait, I'm not gonna say that.
I
What is,
just-
what is
Hey,
the
yo, hold on, you can't ask that question. You can't ask that question.
What's
yo, hold
your
on.
favorite derogatory term for?
I just want to say
No.
though.
You don't want to lose listeners.
All right.
Damn,
I'm sorry.
damn.
Look, I'm sorry me and Juice got into an argument for the last 45 minutes, but Juice be saying some crazy shit sometimes. You know what I mean? So let me stop poking the bear off this joke. That's all right. I had to
You
poke
got
the
the
bear one more time.
instigating shit.
I had to get the last
Smoke
word.
bombs.
I had to get the last word on that joint, dog.
Thomas Jefferson was
All right.
All right. Choose. What's the next topic? Let's go.
Black power or white power?
what is more? Hold on.
What is the
question
origins then?
No. I want to talk about what is the difference between Black Power and White Power.
Black power is an ideal, right? White power is a practice, right?
Preservation, maybe?
White power is in practice. I mean, people who work in government, who have worked in government, they've passed laws. I mean, Jim Crow laws were a thing, man. We couldn't imagine that shit nowadays, right? White power is...
But we do have you heard of the new Jim Crow laws? Where
I have heard about that.
There's a book that came out, the new Jim Crow laws, where like people with felony records, felons, right? They have less rights than slaves back in the day.
I did hear that,
13th, the 13th Amendment thing. Remember the documentary?
So
13th?
the fact that you can't get public assistance, the fact that you can't vote, the fact that you can't get, like, you can't rent or you can't like get housing and stuff, that's
Which is
fucked up.
crazy.
It's a new form of slavery.
How are you supposed to live after that?
But the difference between Black Power and White Power. So I think that's a great breakdown, dude. Like Black Power is an ideal that Black people aspire to reach, right?
Right.
Or something that Black people would want to become one day, a powerful entity in which we could make it a practice. White Power is a current power structure. It's a current practice right now. It's things was in act through the history of racism, Jim Crow, slavery, you name it, right? So the reason I bring this question up is earlier this week, there was a statement made on Facebook. And the statement was, all in all, it was a celebration of an achievement done. And in the end, the hashtag that went with this celebration of an achievement was Black Excellence, or hashtag Black Excellence, hashtag Black and Powerful. So there was a comment made after that, immediately after that, by as I say, white woman, and she her white woman.
That was a lot of air on that W.
So what she said was she was like, what's the difference between, well, why do you have to, I think her statement was, why do you have to say Black Power? If somebody said White Power after a statement like that, they would be looked at very critically.
True that.
Not quoting, but that's paraphrasing what she was saying.
Damn sure would be.
Right. So yeah, like the whole, and therefore the discussion started trying to explain.
That reminds me of a joke where I heard before. It was like, Black Power or Black Pride, said the black guy, or like, Asian Pride, said the Asian guy, and like White Power, White Pride, said the racist.
Right?
Yeah, right. But
it's like so
it's because of the historical context, right? Like history matters. Of course,
history does matter, and it influences what we think about today. And even going back to racism, like we just said about doing things just because it's what's been done. I mean, kids are not born racist. I think that's a scientific provable fact that people are not born racist. It's taught, and what you see when you're younger is what you practice when you're older. I.e. with voting or Christmas or anything like that. And white power would definitely be looked at different because of the historical background of this country.
Connotations.
It's so easy to be racist against someone who is darker of skin because they stand out so much, right? And
I would say just different, not particularly darker of skin.
I would say darker because
darker of skin
because colorism is a huge thing. Actually, like, it's not even about racism. If you look at countries that are like homogenous, such as Japan, for example, or China, or like Asia, for example, right? Even let's go to South America, Brazil, for example, right? Even if they're the same group of people, right? If you're darker, you get less rights, you get less voice,
which is crazy. How do you get less
opportunity?
Darker,
right? So Japan is probably one of the most homogenous places ever. But if you're darker, right, you're looked down on. And the thing is, if you look at Asians, right, their soap, their skin products, some of them have bleach in it.
Damn. I did see a documentary that there's a lot of Africans and black people in China and Japan, like more than you would think,
So, question: why would there be
Chinese
darker people? No, why would there be darker people in such a homogenous place as Japan?
So the reason why is because if you have to look at economics, you have to look at the class, right?
Class
darker people work out in the fields.
In the fields.
Right? Lighter skinned people, they're away from the sun. So they're in offices, which is why you have such a social status thing.
Yeah.
So like that's why
So
they
it's
want to
not-
bleach their skin. That way, if you look at black people, for example, right? A lighter skinned black person versus a darker skinned black person, the lighter skinned person is going to have more opportunities and job offers. Even though they're
It's
both black.
subconscious, but even I would
It
go.
is
I'd still
subconscious.
say
It is subconscious.
It is
yeah.
subconscious.
I would definitely say
Absolutely.
that it's a discrimination based on classism,
Colorism.
like you said.
It's colorism, though. It goes back to that.
But it's classism.
It's easy to
classism.
discriminate.
It's
Definitely,
overlapping.
because here's the
it
thing.
overlaps.
Like, because what you said, like people who work in the sun more are going to be browner, especially when we have to deal with homogenized society.
Which I never understood because I'm a dark skinned person, right? You know, obviously being black, but I hate the damn sun, man. I like working out in the field, like shit, man. This
But
melanin is only gonna keep out so much.
I will say though, I will
It's
say
fucking hot.
in European countries, well, maybe not European countries, I'll say in America though, it's the opposite, right? Where like people go and tan.
Yeah, true that to get darker.
That's a sign of privilege.
Yeah. Or they just be orange.
Because okay, see, look, so the difference is if you look at a third world country, if you're darker, it's because you're poor. Its assumption is because you work in the field. So lighter skin means you have more social status and you make more money. In the West, in America, right? If you're darker, it's because you have more time. You have money, so you're able to tan. You're able to go to the beach and stuff.
Even so, that's like a very current phenomenon. Like
It
I
is.
don't think that was like
It
that like in the fucking.
If I was out in the
1400s.
field, I'd have to have like a big brim hat. Like, you ever got sunburn? Now I got sunburn on my shoulder one time. That shit is no
never
joke.
been
dog.
sunburned.
That shit hurts. I didn't think it was possible either, but it
Black
happened.
people do get sunburned.
It happened, though.
You
I
get
got
sunburned.
sunburned. I was like,
Shit,
damn,
I did not know that.
that shit is a thing.
TIL.
I was saying the more you know.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, it definitely it's easier to discriminate. I would say against darker skinned people because it's easier to discriminate against a family of blacks who's trying to get a home in a certain part of town than it is to discriminate against a European or a more fairer skinned person, right? Especially if those are the ideals that you have and that's the way you grew up. That I'm better socially and class wise than this dark skinned person, right? I don't want this person coming into my neighborhood, and even though that fair skinned family might be the worst off of the two, they might be the most unclean.
You know what? You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember that fucking experiment where they showed children, right? Especially like black kids.
Yeah, I did.
Where
yeah.
they show the dolls. They're like, which one's a good doll? Which one's a bad doll? Which one are you? Mm-hmm. Dude, that fucked me up, dude.
Yeah, it was rough.
Like, so again, like
So
it's
ingrained in society.
right.
It's
It's deeply ingrained. Racism is passed down generationally, kind of thing. The effects of it, anyways.
the most
right?
American thing.
It's America's pastime.
Yeah.
More
Yeah,
American than
America's
baseball.
greatest
It is. It definitely is.
The country was founded with those ideas already in place, so it makes sense that it would be so strong in our culture today, right? I mean, man, and the reason we brought up black versus white is because I believe it was Jay sent a video to the group who was, and the lady in the video was discussing whether terms like cracker or redneck are racist terms, right? And
Come on, Dad. You gonna lose listeners, yo.
Just,
so what term was a spook? When somebody calls somebody a spook, didn't that used to be a racist term?
I don't know. Wasn't
spook.
that like a
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Like a Charlie or something? Charlie might have been that might have been World War II. Yeah,
That's before.
that's what they call the Germans and shit. Yeah, I think the Americans would call Yanks something like that. I don't know.
Gangs. Wait, that's gotta mean something. The fact that we come up with dehumanizing terms, like humans come up with dehumanizing terms for the other. Like that's just a thing, man.
It is human nature, right? It is.
No, because it's easier to like enslave. It's easier to
Or
like
to-
oppose and like oppress
Right.
when they're not human.
No, when they're not like you. That's
That's
when
what
you
we did.
see. The more you see how close they are to you, then you be like, "Oh, damn it!" You feel bad.
That's what we did to the Japanese.
Yeah.
Oh, damn sure, man. That's crazy.
So back to the black power versus white power. So we established that black power is an ideal, right? Something that we strive to become. Black power, I would define is like, I would say something that, that black people have only actually come into quite recently in the spectrum of time or in the spectrum of at least American history. It's only been around for maybe the past 50 years, maybe 60 years, that term black power. And the term, and if we're talking about terminology, I'm thinking the term white power, and I haven't researched this specifically, but if I recall, I think it's something that was created in response to black power.
I can imagine
when you see the white supremacist skinheads, those guys, they chant white power. I would say that
maybe in response to
black
just like
people,
White
the
Lives
Black
Matter
Panthers,
or something like that. Yeah,
the civil rights movement chanting black power. James Brown come out with songs, say it loud, I'm black and I'm
black
proud.
and I'm
right?
proud. That was a shit though.
Yeah,
But I mean,
Vita.
but I could even see Thomas Jefferson saying white power. You know what I mean? Like that's.
But they didn't have to.
I don't think they did
That's the
because
thing, they
if you
didn't
look at
have
back in the
Thomas Jefferson's been like, I declare white power. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing though. If you look at back in the 30s though, like gangs in New York, for example, right? Like if you look at the Polish, they hated the Welsh, they hated the Germans, they hated like the Irish.
They were
Right.
very
So
sexy.
maybe it is a
Islands,
new concept.
right?
Yeah.
So
White power is new.
it wasn't until they were like, oh man, you're Polish, I'm British. Like we hate each other. But you know what? If we combined our powers, so we can at least be
With
better
these
than
powers
those.
combined,
Better than black people or those darkies.
White
over there.
we become white power. Oh snap!
Don your hoods.
Yeah, I guess it would be created in response. Man, I never really even thought about it like that.
Yeah, I'm so in the discussion on Facebook. You know,
I just thought
I
white
love
power
Facebook debates,
was-
man, but it was going back and
Wait,
forth.
hold on. Question: do you guys think black power was first or white power was first?
The terminology or
Terminology.
I think was
Because if you think about it,
Black
though,
power
like no, but if you think about it, right? If you think about like the white people who came, right? The Caucasians. If you look at the Polish and the Welsh and the Germans and all that stuff, right? They combined first. So maybe in response, I don't know the history. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe they were like, well, hold on, maybe we should band together because we look alike, we look similar.
But my thing, and when I'm thinking about it, it seems weird for a band of white people, even from different areas, to come together and be like, you know what this is?
It's numbers.
White Power Coalition.
It's
like
numbers.
no, like cause like why would it be white power? Well, when they like the Ku Klux Klan don't call themselves the White Klux Klan, like they're just the Ku Klux Klan for whatever reason they chose that name, right? So I'm thinking like black power was something that black people. So what is the definitive attribute of African Americans, black people? Our skin is dark, like, and because it used to be a derogatory term, like people hate the fact that, or always call people black and nigger and all these other terms because it was demeaning. They would say that their skin color is demeaning, and I would say that the black power terminology came into play because they were taking like the way people took the word nigger back, like they took the word black back, and they flipped it. And use it as yes, it's our defining trait, and because of that, it's powerful. Like I just don't see white people.
Should poor white people take back the word cracker and like redneck and stuff?
I think they should. I think you should take back the word.
They can't have a monopoly
I
on the
think-
word cracker.
Actually,
Why don't you
white
explain-
people do take
I like
the term
crackers.
redneck.
Why don't you explain where the terms came from? Because we didn't talk about that.
Hey, I love
I know
crackers.
where one term came from because it's internalized. But, so what was the video? It was a video Jay had sent to the group, and what was it? Alright,
Yeah,
I'll cut this out.
yeah. It's
Are cracker white trash redneck racist from MTV News Decoded. So, lady on this show breaks down.
Oh,
I don't know
snap.
her name. Hold on, who's this?
all right. I got a little thing here. This is obviously from one of my favorite sites of all freaking time, Wikipedia.
Oh, I was about to say World Star.
I was gonna say World Star.
I know. I knew y'all thought I was gonna go with that World Star. It
That's
says
a curveball, dude.
it says the term cracker. Cracker, sometimes white cracker or quote cracker with an A on the end,
As
is a
normally
derogatory
it's denoted.
term for white people, used especially for poor rural whites in the southern United States.
By
However,
other whites.
it is sometimes used in a neutral or positive context, or self-descriptively with pride in reference to a native of Florida or Georgia. I'd never heard that before. I guess so. It's just like nigga, right? Like if
Taking
I'm
it
from
back.
Florida.
Taking it back.
Yeah, take it back. Own it.
Yeah, the term is primarily used.
Own it, man.
Look, this John says on the end of the definition, the term is primarily used as a pejorative by African Americans. So yeah,
Recently.
we own cracker. You can't have it back, all right?
Recently.
But yeah,
No, we can crack it back.
I'm not sure if
They can
that's what
have
she
back
said in the video.
redneck. They can have back cracker. They can have back. What was it? The other one. Anyway, so the terminology.
Do people still use those terms?
Probably. I think so.
Probably.
Yes. 100%.
I think the main difference between white power and black power is white power was in practice, regardless of the terminology of it. It was in practice from the founding of this country.
Right.
The white man had to be on top of not just African Americans, but I think of all races. Look what they did to Native Americans. Look what they did to Asians and during the settlement of the West. You know, I mean, they were hanging. You know, who built the railroads? I mean, blacks and Asians, right?
How quick they turned the Japanese in Pearl Harbor?
I mean, right? Like, look what they did to Japan as a country. They're the only country in the world to drop nuclear bombs. You know,
They took away their military as well.
white power is a practice. It is a form of government. You know, totalitarian government worldwide, not just in America. I mean, look what they're doing to countries in Africa. I mean, raping the natural
Middle East.
resources. Even the Middle East.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of different, yeah, because the Middle East does the same thing. You know, they got
but
rich
we
Middle
go
Eastern
over
countries
there
who go somewhere.
For that
And,
oil?
I mean, they both do it to each other.
Oil? You
I
cooking,
think-
bitch? You
You know what I'm
cooking?
saying?
the Middle
like-
Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia and stuff, they're definitely in Northern Africa trying to expand their reaches for oil, much oil as they have. But
Why would
it's just
we in
imperialism, man. Imperialism. The country with the lesser technology is always going to be dominated by the one with the higher technology. And
That's true.
I was listening to a bunch of shit on you know, I was stuck on like Saturn and Saturnism and stuff like that, and they were talking about
Saturnism?
the archons and the Sumerian tablets. I was listening to a guy named I listened to a couple audio books this week by Zachariah Sitchin, and he came out with you know, the untold history of the world, and he studied the Sumerian tablets, and he believes that humankind actually started off as a petri dish project of, you know, this sounds kind of crazy, space aliens, right?
Yeah,
and he believes that
I'm with
the
you, man.
Sumerian tablets actually depict these people, these gods, quote unquote,
Anunnaki,
teaching
yo.
people,
Yeah, the Anunnaki.
the Anunnaki, and teaching people how to grow food and agriculture, and giving man
They
the
said
yoke.
they used partial of their DNA and partial ape DNA.
That shit is fascinating, right? Because I'm like,
That's
where
crazy,
do we
dude.
come from? That's a fundamental question. Where do not just black people or white or Asian, whatever? Where do we as a human species come from, right? Because somebody pointed out, like, it's almost like we don't belong here, you know? Like, right? Like
We 100% belong here.
we can't survive in the elements, right? Like, you're saying, like, you'll see a deer, he'll be out in sub-zero temperature, don't seem to bother him, but if you do it, you'll freeze, you know? Whereas, like, it seems like we could be the part of some kind of experiment, and we didn't actually naturally grow or evolve on this planet. I mean, like, that's why our skin is not as thick as prehistoric men and stuff like that.
I'm listening to this
We
audio
talked
book
about
right
this
now.
where reptiles can sunbathe and be okay. That's how they get their source.
That
of
shit is
energy.
fascinating,
For us,
right?
we
It's
do
like,
that, we
damn,
get
this is-
cancer.
So I'm listening to an audiobook right now called Species, and talk about Sapiens. So it talks about like evolutionary biology and all this stuff, and it talks about how like the human brain development and how the difference between like our human Homo sapien brains and the brains of our closest animal relatives, right? And how different they are, and how much energy we actually use to from what we consume to redistribute to go into our brains. And part of what the book proposes, and I don't know, of course it's all just speculation and everything else, but they're saying that they think that part of our diet, instead of going to our muscles and our biceps like it would go to chimpanzees and gorillas and all these other things, like our diet, a lot of that was redistributed. Instead of going to our bodies, it went to our neuroreceptors in our brains, which makes us smarter, which makes us more creative, and makes us
It makes sense.
makes us human, makes us the wise sapien, right? And or the wise human. So just as an alternative thought, like for whatever reason, like our brains have consumed way more energy than that of other animals.
It makes
Whereas
sense.
it could have alternatively went the other way around. Like it could have went to our bodies. We could have been stronger physically, ran faster, and all that other stuff.
It makes sense though because of our brain processing power. I mean, it's
It's
obviously
a
a lot higher
defining
than
element.
a
All right.
chimpanzee or whatever it is, you know. Whereas a lot of instincts take over. I mean, we do have different different brain patterns. And I don't know how we got on this from the term cracker. How do we get from cracker to chimps? Is that a derogatory term, chimps? Has somebody ever been called chimps in a derogatory?
Like you don't want to call Caesar.
He was mad as hell. Yeah,
Caesar's like chimp.
Caesar, don't play that.
Primate.
Man, the new Planet of the Apes is already on TV, man. I gotta see it, man. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I need to go with that, John.
That was dope. Planet of the Apes.
But in terms of white power versus black power, it's definitely in practice, and I don't think that white people will ever truly feel the sting of racism the way that black people have, or even still do, which is, why, white power can never truly be on the same level as black power, man. I mean,
like even if they're like called out when you use the term white power, like it's because of the historical context. It's like it's not because you guys were
specifically
right. I hate you specifically. It's because people who have used that terminology before you were terrible people and did terrible things to other people who weren't like them, who weren't white, right? Like it's all historically contextually based, right? It's not that white people are bad, which people love to make that assumption or draw that conclusion. It's like, oh, I can't be proud of my whiteness. Like, no, nobody's saying you can't be proud of your whiteness, right?
And at
the same time, terms like white power, like it's not about your whiteness, right? It's about condemning and marginalizing other people. That's what white power is about. You can be proud of your whiteness in 100 other different ways, right? Without that's not connected to degradation of other cultural societies and enslavement. Like people love to say, oh, but we have to celebrate our Confederate history. Well, sorry, man, but your Confederate history is really based on
the back of slaves.
On the back of slaves, right? Both logged by words of your generals and your commanders of that era, and based on the Jim Crow era, and also based on the statues and how they were built, and who funded all those statues again? The wives of whatever.
Yeah, but that's a mixed bag though, because they had slave owning peoples of the North, and people were just as racist in the North as they were in the South. I think we have to acknowledge the fact that a lot of white people, and when we say white people, I hate to just put them in like a general class of just quote white people, but a lot of white people fought for equal rights and freedom of slaves during the Civil War, after the Civil War.
Bernie,
yes.
A lot of people were active in trying to bring about equal rights because they looked around and saw what was happening and they didn't agree with it. Yeah, we have to acknowledge that too.
They were the good guys.
So it's a mixed bag, man. This country has a very deep racist history, and we can't get away from it no matter what we want to do. We in this room would probably support the statue of Robert E. Lee being taken down, but can you really argue against somebody who doesn't want it taken down? I
can.
It is history, right?
History.
It is.
It is history, but it doesn't need to be the name of a school, and doesn't need to be
but neither does the Garfield Indians, right? But it is.
I'd agree.
And
dude, we talking about Redskins? No. All right.
We can.
We can leave it. All right,
we can.
We'll come back to that.
It's man.
But it's like I feel you.
It comes down to the fact of where do we want to go as a society in the future? Do we want to put these certain things on pedestals? I always pick a word to cast ideals on pedestals as far as racism and all of that, because if we don't take these statues down, stop using terms like cracker and redneck. But I would say on the flip side, if you want these things done, stop using terms like nigga. Don't use the term nigga. Black people can't put a claim on the term nigga and then be mad that they have a Robert E. Lee statue in a square in Charlottesville.
It's 100% different.
It's not. It's not, because it comes out of the same historic background. Okay, they called black people niggas as a derogatory term during the time of Robert E. Lee.
Yeah,
so
but here's the thing:
you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Nigga was never funded by the state. The word nigga was not funded by
Nigga
the
is a
state.
term who was used by people in the
and
state.
nigga is not a term.
People in government call
Like, they don't
black
have a
people
statue
niggas.
of nigga. They don't have a school called nigga. Right?
But black
That's not
people
a
use
thing.
it freely. They use it in schools. They use it in malls. They use it in public.
Between
they
who?
use it on the bus. It doesn't matter. You'll call a white friend niggas. I've seen people call white people niggas. Nigga, please get out of here. You know.
Yeah.
So,
but it's our word.
We can't
We
have
can
our
do
cake
that.
and eat it too.
Nobody's
But
saying that's
their-
not having your cake.
But that's
and eat it
their
too.
statue,
God damn
right?
it.
Like,
So
for the people
that's
who are
not
out there marching
having
for
our
them not
cake
to
and
take
eat it
down
too.
that statue, that's their statue. That's the statue. They look
Yeah,
to
but
and say, hey, I
where
like
did they
that
put
guy.
that statue? They put that statue in the public areas. They put it in front of courthouse.
We
They put
call
it
them.
on
We
front
call
of,
people niggas
they-
in front of courthouses and public areas.
That's not the same thing. You don't have a statue of
Dude,
niggas.
it's an idea.
Like, no.
It's an
no,
idea.
No.
What Robert E. Lee
No, no.
represents.
Black people use the term nigga as a term of endearment. Like, none of those statues are terms of endearment.
When you pull up next to a car in,
like,
say
oh,
you in
my
Charlottesville,
nigga.
right?
It's a term, dude.
Say you in
It's a term.
Charlottesville
It's not
and you
the
right
same
next to
as
the
a
Robert E. Lee statue, and somebody pulls up in the car saying, "Yeah, nigga, what's up, nigga? I'm bouncing, nigga." You know what I mean? That's the same thing. It's in a public space. It's in a public space, and it's an idea.
Also, niggas freedom of speech.
So that's
You
not
can
freedom
say it.
of. That's not freedom.
Are you saying that people
that
shouldn't
statue is
say
not-
certain words?
So those people
because
are not free to have a statue of somebody that they idealize in a square.
They can have it, but they can put it in a museum for historical context. Because
What's
freedom
the
of
difference
speech.
between having it in a museum and having it out in the
Because
square?
when
It's still
because
there.
when a government institution funds it, then it's not.
Wasn't
It's
it-
not.
who
It's
funds
not.
museums?
It's not
wasn't
public.
Wasn't it private?
Who funds museums?
Wasn't it private people who did the statues?
Yeah, they put what private organizations put statues up, but
Yeah,
they put it in public.
Robert E. Lee
They
stuff.
put it in public spaces.
Dude, it's
No, there's a difference.
You're
Steve.
going down a
There's-
rabbit hole
I'm
here.
not going down a rabbit hole.
to the
You're not
point
listening.
where you're gonna have to take down. You know, everybody wants a Confederate flag taken down, right? And they did that,
You can
but
put
that
it
doesn't
at
mean
your
that
house.
people are not
You
going to
can put
have
it
it.
at your house. You can have a Robert Lee statue in your yard, but you don't put it in a park. You don't put it in front of the courthouse. You don't put it at a school. You don't put it at public
So then,
places.
I would say
You can
that
use
if black
nigga
people
as a
are going to
term
be
of
mad,
endearment, as a term of
then
in
you have
angry
to
states.
you have to
But
stop
what you
using
can't-
that.
But here's
as
the thing:
as a word in
it's
public
freedom
spaces.
of speech. No, you don't. No, because you don't tell people what words they can
You
use
can't
in
say
public
that
spaces.
not saying
White
a word
people
in
are-
a public space
white
is
people-
infringing on your freedom of
White
speech.
people can say nigga, okay?
Because
Surprise,
people having a statue
white
up
people can
at
say
one
nigga,
place.
but you will be treated with contempt and disdain, which you've deserved for using that word, and which it was used to lambaste and hurt an entire generations of people.
So let me ask you this:
So that's
they
the
want to take
difference.
down.
You
They
can't
want
say
to
there's
take
not a
down.
difference, dude.
They want to take down a Robert E. Lee statue. What about Robert E. Lee High School? What
Yeah.
about Robert E. Lee
the name.
Park?
Change the name.
So
Unless he's Asian, change
in
the
that
name.
in that case,
Let's do
what
Asian,
about
change the name.
what about Martin Luther King School? What about Martin Luther King School? We've
So
had this
what was his
argument before.
ideology? What was his ideology?
Because you agree
wanna
with
say-
Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
you don't want to take it down. Because you don't agree with Robert E. Lee, you want to take it down. You can't have your cake
You know
and
what?
eat it too.
You know what?
Take all of that out of the public.
Okay,
arena.
fine. All right, I'll give you that.
And then that's fair.
And put Martin Luther King in.
Don't say
in
I
public
don't like
spaces.
this thing, so I don't want it up. But I like this thing, so you can leave that up. No. We have to be on an even, equal playing field.
Wait a minute. There's a distinct difference.
They
between
have a Martin Luther
there's
King-
a distinct difference between
they
Martin
have a
Luther King.
Martin Luther
Nope,
King-
there's a distinct difference between Martin Luther King and a distinct difference between Robert E. Lee. Whereas
What
Robert
is
E.
it?
Lee seceded from the United States government. He wasn't an American at the point in the time of the Confederacy. Those Confederates were not American, as says so in their paperwork. In their declarations, they are not Americans. So by having statues of Robert E. Lee, we're having statues of
Okay,
anti-American.
but the name of the state didn't change.
State of what?
The state of Virginia. He was a general for the state of Virginia as amongst the other states.
He
The
wasn't-
name of the state didn't change.
Nope. At the time,
Listen,
of
we're not
when
talking
he
about
was for the
federal, we're talking about state.
When he was for the Confederacy, he was not a general of the United States.
It doesn't
He
matter.
might have
He was
been
a general for
but he
Virginia.
seceded from the United States. He was a general for the Confederacy.
That's fine.
Which is not the United States.
But
Which
it was
is
the
not
same- it
Virginia.
was the same
Nope,
Virginia
it's not the same
state.
thing. It's not the same thing.
It is the same thing, dude.
How is that the same
Listen,
thing? I just explained
okay,
it. It's
listen.
not. What's your
There's
argument?
a statue-
that
there's a
Virginia
statue of
and
Martin
the
Luther
Confederacy.
King in
what's
DC,
the argument
right?
that the Confederacy and Virginia were the same thing?
It's a
What's the
statue.
argument?
Because Virginia was a part of the Confederacy.
Partially.
What do you mean partially? They
You
were
realize
main
that Virginia
state.
was split, right?
What are you talking about? We're not talking about West
It's the
Virginia
North-
and Virginia.
No, it's the North and the South. Like Virginia
No,
was
bruh.
where the fighting happened.
Yeah, they fought in Gettysburg. Gettysburg is north of here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
So
I mean,
what-
you're trying to draw specific lines, but we don't know where those exact lines were.
So
you have to say
but you
Virginia.
can't. But then in saying that, you can't say all of Virginia was for the Confederacy because it wasn't.
What do you take? No,
Because
you got to
the
show
fact-
me some. You got to show me some
No,
evidence.
you gotta
that
show me
Virginia
some
was
evidence.
Split down the
You
middle.
gotta show me some. I didn't say split down the middle.
Dude, it is
I'm saying
common
this
known
was the
knowledge.
I'm saying this is the fighting ground. This is where the
Look,
fighting happened.
Do
in
I have
Virginia.
to Google what state seceded from the Union? Because I'm guaranteed it'll say Virginia. It's not going to say
Oh,
1/3 of
wait.
Virginia
So
did.
by seceded from Union means seceded from the United States.
No, it was the Union.
So at
the
that
United
point,
States. If you want
I
to get
think-
technical, this is what I read. The United States was not formed until 1871, which is after the Civil War ended. But that's a whole nother topic, all right? It was actually the Union. He had to preserve the Union. And he didn't preserve the Union because he wanted to free slaves. It's a known fact that at the time, Abraham Lincoln said that if he didn't have to free any slave to preserve the Union, he would do it. If he had to free every
what
slave
was
to
the
preserve the
argument?
Union, he would have done it.
But they did.
So they have a statue
But
of
that
Martin
was
Luther
the
King
conclusion
in a public space
that
in
was
DC,
the conclusion
right?
of the North winning.
So listen, let me ask you this: they have a statue of Martin Luther King
And
in
the
DC,
fact
right?
that the fact that the Confederate Papers do state that the reason they were fighting was for slavery.
It was
for
bigger than
slavery.
slavery.
So it doesn't matter if it was.
It was bigger than
It
slavery.
doesn't matter
It's about
if
economics
it doesn't
at that
matter
point.
if abolishing slavery was a side effect. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter if it was a side effect.
It was bigger than
what
that.
the fact that matters
The
is that
economy of the South was bigger than the
what
economy
does
of the
matter
North.
is that the South fought to keep slavery. That's
because
what does matter.
because they needed something to support their production of raw materials.
Maybe if they actually hired workers.
Well, why would I do that when I can buy a slave? I mean, you
are
see the
we're not gonna
economic
argue-
sense.
We're
in
not
it.
going to argue the merits of keeping slaves, are we?
Of course
'Cause
not.
I don't fucking feel
but
like
you can
it.
see the economic sense in it, right? If why would I pay 3 workers to do a job I can buy 10 slaves for? That's economic sense. That's business sense. I mean, if you want
It's
to,
also inhumane and terrible.
of course,
Okay.
obviously, right? I would have been a slave if
obviously.
that was back in the day, right?
Obviously.
Let me ask you this: if they have a statue of Martin Luther King in a public space in D.C., right? Now, what if a white? We've had this argument before. I think when we talked about the Charlottesville statue.
I'm thinking,
What if a white person came up and said, "I don't agree with the ideals and what Martin Luther King stood for. We should remove this from this public space." As you're saying for that Robert E. Lee statue, we should remove this from this public space and put it in the museum. You would not support that. You would not say, "Oh yeah,
like
that's
it.
right. We should put that in the
I
museum."
definitely
because
would like it, but I would understand and I would hear the argument because you might have a valid point.
but you don't understand their argument to keep the statue where it is.
No, not keep it. If we're gonna remove Martin Luther King, we have to remove them first.
I guarantee if they were like,
we gotta remove. We have to remove all of those first.
I guarantee
And
if
then
they
we can
said,
have
"Let's
that
remove this
discussion.
Martin Luther King statue," you'd be like, "Man, hell no, we ain't removing that. Why? Why would
No,
we do
because
that?"
if they have a valid argument, then yeah. And if the argument is the same one that took down the other statues, then yeah. Yes,
But they gotta take theirs
here's
down
the thing,
first.
I'm about being intellectually consistent.
But they got to take theirs down
We have
first.
to be consistent. Yeah, you got to take those down as well. And you don't have to be first, but fucking take them down as well. And we need them to take them down. Otherwise, they'll be like, "Yeah, we'll take them down." We won't. Like, so it's the thing. Like, we have to be consistent. So if we came to a conclusion that having these political, for whatever reason, these things are public property, right? On public property, like as monuments. Then yeah, we should take them down. If because of and only because of their ideology, then yes, that should be consistent all the way through. That should be consistent all the way through. So I'll be okay if that was the argument.
I don't think you would be, but all right.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I think you would be like up in arms if they were taking down a Martin Luther King statue.
I mean, I'm saying it right now. I'm saying it right now. Right now.
All right. I mean, I guess.
If that's a conclusion, that's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah. So
You don't believe me, you should. You don't believe me, you should.
I don't.
lying.
That definitely. No, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying, like, I think that you would be strongly against removing that Martin Luther King statue, the same as
Well,
those
we
people are about
finally
that Robert E. Lee
got an African
statue.
American museum, so I mean, we could put it in there. I'm cool.
Is the wait list on that thing still long as hell? The last time I checked, I heard they had a wait list to actually go on there. You had to like set an appointment to go to the African American Museum.
Yeah, still I'm trying to get in that jump.
Dang.
Should have a field trip though.
Well, white power versus black power. I mean, white people versus black people. Dang, this is crazy, man.
How we get to
Yeah, it's
Confederacy?
it's wild. You know, after the
But that's a good point, man. The dates on when the United States was founded versus when the Confederacy seceded from the Union. I need to look into that shit.
I actually heard that the United
Them
States.
motherfuckers was still wrong though.
I actually heard that the
Yeah, I
United
look at the
States
dates.
is different from the United States of America. I heard America is actually not a place.
Isn't it a corporation or something?
It's a corp. The United States is a corporation. America is America, North America, Central America, and South America.
I heard about this shit. It's
It's a
wild.
region, right?
It's a
Americas
region.
are the region.
So the United States of America is just kind of a place, whereas the United States is different. It's like the state of California and California state. It's two different things. You know, it's legalese, it's legal terms. You know, if you go up to a law dictionary, a simple common word that you use every single day, if you look into a law dictionary, not a Webster's dictionary, a law dictionary, it will mean something totally different than what you think that it means. But I don't know. I'm just saying, do some research. You know, I would definitely be a crackpot conspiracy theorist if this was like way back in the day. I love the internet, man. What the hell we do without the internet? You know,
I don't know, man. Like the whole Zachariah Sitchin thing has a lot of holes in it.
It does. I've definitely seen videos of people that don't agree with him, and they think that the translations of the Sumerian tablets are different. But you know, you got to start wondering why.
I was on that kick for a while too.
I heard they have like millions.
You gotta look at the
tablets.
counter. You gotta look at the counter stuff.
I heard they had like 2 million tablets and stuff like that. Like, and not everything is like biblical prophecy or something like that. It's just like they'll have a simple tablet that'll show the exchange of grain from a merchant to a guy who's buying it. You know, and they'll document that on tablets.
And who's also to say that those tablets are like that might have been their religion. They might have believed that the same way people believe Jesus died on the cross and is on his way back. Like the same way, that might just be their religion. Like, why would we take that as fact when they probably don't have any supporting anything to back that up either? That might just be what they thought.
It's fascinating though.
It's fascinating.
It counteracts what we've been taught,
but that's
especially as children.
I got to talk about the book again. The Sapiens, man. So there was this one point where it talked about how like the real true primary difference between Homo sapiens, like us humans, and the other human types that were in the area or in the world like 100,000 years ago along with us, and what allowed us to band together better as a society is really the fact that we have this ability to create things like overarching institutions and to create religions and these
civilization.
Yeah, exactly. And to create these ideological fictions and have masses of people buy into these fictions. Because they're saying that the reason the other primate or the other like Neanderthals and Homo habilis and all those others, like they were very similar to us, like extremely similar to us. But what they couldn't do was create, they didn't have the imaginations we have and the complexity of imagination that we had, which allows us to create things like religions and governments and institutions and that as soon as that they were only able to have capacities of people up to like maybe 100, maybe 150 people into a group before it came apart at the seams because people would start believing or they could only like realize or register certain things in their current world, right? And maybe short-term future and short-time past. But really a lot of it was in the moment kind of stuff with them. Whereas Homo sapiens, like what Homo sapiens were able to do was they were able to create large cities. They were able to band together with more than 150 people, up to 1,000 plus people. And though the gel that connected those 1,000 people or so was nothing more than an ideal in a basic fiction that they all created and they all subscribed to. Like the whole fact that we have ideologies and it's uniquely human, and that in our DNA, that's the most unique thing about us, and probably the reason why they say that the good part of why Homo sapiens are around and others aren't anymore is because Homo sapiens wiped everything else out. Because at some point they may have came up with a fiction saying that we have to be the ones and those can't anymore, right? Stuff like that. I don't know. I just found that like it's the most fascinating thing. And when you talk about what people believed back then, like how long ago were Sumerians? Like 6,000 years ago? 7,000 years ago?
Way longer than that.
Oh yeah, maybe like 15,000 years ago. However long ago, we're talking about in spans of like 100, 200,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens were just kind of still evolving, while there are other groups of Homo sapiens, and how we were able to exist in large communities based upon our ideologies.
Yeah.
Our ideologies.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely holds society together. I mean, ideologies formed America. Right? Racist ideologies.
It formed everything. Ideologies formed everything humans have. Everything. Like there was no Jesus without an ideology. There's no Christianity. There's no Judaism without ideology. There were no Egyptians without ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were no Sumerians without ideology. You know what I'm saying? Like it's everything. That's the one thing we do to this day that we have that keeps us separate from our primate, the bonobos and the chimpanzees.
Ideologies.
I'll put that shirt. Ideologies will keep us separate.
I think this would be a good time to transition to the next topic. Then, what about cultural appropriation and ownership?
It's all ideology.
Yeah, that's an easy way to explain it. It's all ideology. Yeah, don't worry about it.
So that's a good point though. And so test case for cultural appropriation in America, dreadlocks. That is the test case for cultural appropriation in America. And that
Northern
in
America?
music in North America.
North America.
Didn't we talk about
United
this
States of
before appropriation? Because we were talking about like hairstyles and clothing and the
feel
way
like
people dress. And
That was before
talk.
the cast. It was in our long segments.
Really? It might
We
been.
have so many of those that we should just record. This is the exact reason why.
Yeah, it might have been. But yeah, so what's the
So
So you're
Jeremy Lin. I don't know if you guys have heard about Jeremy Lin.
Linsanity.
I don't even know what sports team he plays for. Former NBA.
He's still in the Rockets? He might be in Houston.
Nah, didn't he switch? No idea. I think he's on.
So in a
It's hard to
nutshell,
follow the NBA, you know,
I almost
especially
want
me
to say
working at
Lakers
night.
now. I almost want to say Lakers now, but I'm not.
He might be on the Lakers. Actually, I think he went from the Lakers to New York, then back to Houston. I'm not sure if he's still there.
He originally was on the Rockets.
It's hard for me to follow. It's hard for me to follow basketball because I work at night. I can't watch any of the games, man. So if I don't catch one on the weekend, I just can't watch it.
so quote from The Root. Again, The Root writer Marco Harriet. Quote, again, for the readers just joining us, Jeremy Lin, the Chinese-American basketball player, has motherfucking dreadlocks. So the argument surrounding Jeremy Lin was there was first a tweet and then a video released by former NBA star Kenyon Martin. And his quote was, in a nutshell, do I need to remind this damn boy that his last name is Lin? Martin explained in a now deleted Instagram post, come on, man, let's stop these people. There's no way possible, man. He would have made it on one of our teams, man, with that bullshit going on in his head, man. Come on, man. Somebody really need to tell him, all right, bro? We get it, like, you want to be black. We get it. So...
That's not fair. That's not nice.
That's what I'm... That's not nice. This is not nice.
It's not nice at all.
But the question is, does he have a point? Is
No.
this true?
No, not at all. I don't think so at all, man. Like, he wouldn't have made it on our team. You know how hard it is to make it into the NBA? Like, this dude has to be a good athlete, okay? You don't just get on an
Exactly.
NBA
That was my
team by
biggest thing.
chance.
Like, word?
He would have never made it on our team. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like,
Because he had dreadlocks? You mean like there's like the people at the NBA were like, oh, no,
what
no,
does his
no.
dreadlocks have to do with anything? you
These
know?
dreadlocks and tattoos, you gotta
Yeah,
go.
like, this
I don't care if you can cross
sounds
over.
ridiculous. Like, you know how good of an athlete you have to be to make it to that pro level? I mean, it's only, 2,000 NBA players? Maybe less than that?
That's
I
like
mean,
the 1%.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's
Bing.
no way that he
So
would make it
that's
onto an
1 point.
NBA roster if he wasn't a good athlete.
1 point he's 100% wrong on. He's not... Him having locks had no say whether he was or wasn't going to be on an NBA team. I remember Dr. J had an afro back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, nobody was like, oh, no, these afros are
Oh, they probably didn't want him in there, but they said, damn, this nigga can dunk.
Yeah, he can dunk on everybody. Come on.
Posterizing.
Do you know that the historical fact the Washington Redskins were one of the last teams to integrate black people onto their team in segregation days? They were one of the last teams to allow black players to play for them.
I'm curious.
For the NBA, I'm not. For the NFL, I'm not sure.
They're
It might have
probably
been Jim
losing so
Brown.
bad. It's like, I mean, we gotta do something.
It might have been Jim Brown, right? Because they probably realized that
terrible.
these dudes is
That's
fast. Look, these dudes is fast and strong. Like we gotta let one of you guys on the team, you know. So I mean, even baseball did it. You know,
So they
that's
were
why
racist
Jackie
back
Robinson
then,
is so
too.
big. I'm pretty sure golf had it. Why do you think Tiger Woods is so big? Because he's a golfer of black descent. You know, so
Because he was good.
you know that too.
Both.
You know.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Both.
Yeah, both of them. But this dude, whoever made that statement, sounds like the racist in this whole thing. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about, dude? Like, he wouldn't have made it on your team. Like,
And I'm
Because he has
scrolling through
dreads.
this root article trying to find like a valid point, and it's really just reiterating the fact that
he got
He
dreads,
has
man.
dreadlocks
Look,
and
look at
he's
his head.
look, he's got
Okay.
dreadlocks. He's Asian and he
what
has dreadlocks.
Yeah, who cares? Like,
It's just like, wait, what? Well, that's none of these are points as to validate Kenyon Martin's statements.
I think that people who actually watch sports and care about it would pay no attention to this dude who's a Kenyon Martin, wouldn't pay any attention because they want to see what Jeremy Lin is doing on the court. How many points does he score a game? How many rebounds does he get? How many assists? You know, how many steals does he get? Does he block any shots? Is he fast? Can he run? Is he injured? They don't care about. He got dreads. What the fuck does that got to do with anything? You know what I mean? Like, he can score, man. I can let him on the team. Like, you know, that dude sounds like the racist, man. He sounds like an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
and call it my progressive kind of attitude, I guess, maybe newer generation or whatever. But even if I saw somebody white with dreads, I wouldn't think that they,
Or culturally appropriating?
I just would
Like
think that
black
they
culture
want to
in
try
particular?
dreads, you know.
I would see. So I did some digging. If you just look
But
up.
okay, on the flip side, sorry to cut you off there.
Go ahead.
What if a black person back in like the we brought up Malcolm X earlier, right? Malcolm X was known to bleach his not bleach, but straighten his hair.
Relax.
Right? Yeah, relax his hair. What if you saw somebody who was trying to do that? Is that cultural appropriation when blacks were doing that to try to fit in more to society
It's different.
back in the day?
The fact that you said to fit into society, it kind of makes it
Appropriation.
No,
So why else
that's
would they
not
do
what
it?
makes it appropriation. Like, that's what makes it not appropriation. Because otherwise, they were shunned for their natural hair. White
Mm-hmm.
people, as far as I know, are not shunned for not being black. Think about
Maybe
it.
a little bit.
Think about it.
We all know that one white dude who thinks they're
people
black.
generally are not shunned for not being black.
We all know that one white dude who thinks they're black, though. Right? We know a couple
Is
dudes.
he shunned for
One
not
dude-
being black?
No, he's kind of excited.
All right,
for
so
not
that's what
being
I'm saying.
black.
White people generally are not shunned.
But
for
he
not
do be
being
thinking
black.
he black, dog.
Good
Like,
old
all
Chip
the,
though. Every group needs a Chip.
all the girl he be talking about is like
Sorry,
black
I'm sorry.
girls.
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
But
I mean, hey, welcome.
But
welcome
I
to the-
didn't know.
Welcome to the family, home. I mean, but yeah, it was just a question.
I
My
think
bad,
that's
Jay. I
generally
didn't
the
mean to cut
difference,
you
no,
off.
what I was gonna say is like if you just look up dreadlocks on Google, right? Like the second article is from ebony.com, and Shamir Folk says that dreadlocks can be traced to just about every civilization in history. No matter the race, you will find a connection of having dreadlocks as spiritual reasoning. So, for example, if you go back to 2500 BC, Hinduism's oldest scripture depict the god Shiva wearing locks in the Sanskrit language, according to Dr. Bert Ash. And other indigenous groups, such as Asians or like wherever, they all had locks at one point.
Here's
So
the
this is
question.
easier.
Is locks the same as locks? So locks of hair. Locks of hair does just mean a grouping of hair. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's twisted and locked, like LOCK. It's usually LOCS.
I would think it's the same thing. I mean,
not
maybe
the same, I don't know.
locks are.
Rapunzel was noted as having long locks. So I think we all generally assume that. Well, I guess we
Rapunzel
assume she wasn't real, but she was based on European culture.
I mean, at the same time, though, if you look at, for example, if you go to like say Native Americans,
Or was it?
a lot of them some of them had dreadlocks too, though. Back in the 1800s, if you look at some indigenous people,
That's because they was mingling with them black folks. They was mingling with the slaves.
maybe.
Did you ever see 12 Years a Slave?
Nope.
Dude, you still never seen that movie, man?
Really?
It's a great movie,
rough,
man.
man.
It's a great movie.
That's a good
man.
movie.
It's
I
like
know,
it's
I
not
know.
like hokey or
Look,
stupid.
is it a payoff at the end?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna spoil it,
All right.
But also, I was gonna say Buddhism, Hinduism, they all had like locks as well.
right?
So, but I mean, like, I think more recently though, it's more culturally appropriate for like black people to have it.
Me personally, I've never really associated dreadlocks with being specifically pro-black. right? Like, I mean, anybody can
It's a
lock
Rasta.
their hair.
It's a
I was
Rasta.
gonna say, it's either a Rasta
Rastafarian
thing,
which
or
is
it's a
a-
hippie thing.
But you can go to Jamaica and see white Rastafarians. You know, I don't know if that's
and they're legit.
And
they're legit
the
Jamaican.
reasoning
Mhm.
behind it is that
Accents and
they
everything,
don't
yeah.
cut their hair. They can't cut their hair. Right. Like that's part of their practice
Mhm.
as Rastafarian. So when you can't cut your hair, you have to do something with it. So they lock it.
That
And
dude,
the
Kenyon
term
Martin.
dreadlock came from a group of warrior Rastafarians.
Mhm.
I don't know the specific history on it, but the dreadlock Rastas were an actual group of Rastafarians, and their hair was locked, and they called them dreadlocks, and they were a warrior band.
That would be a scary name for a warrior band of
Dreadlocks.
Yeah, the Dreadlocks. Like dread.
You know what's funny though?
The Dread Fort.
I was always told
Kill
back
Rodney
in the,
dreadlocks.
I actually had dreadlocks back in the day, but well, I was gonna say I was always told to always call
Like 2
them
years
locks because you never dread them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But that
That's
other
a-
dude,
that's-
Kenyon Martin, sounds like an idiot, though. Like, it just
But
sounds stupid.
one of the things that kind of backfired on him was that Jeremy Lin was like like I respect your opinion. Everyone like is entitled to their own, but at the same time, you got some Asian character tattoos on your arm.
Exactly.
Like how you gonna call
Jeremy
me
Lin
out?
probably said that to be politically correct. At the same time, he wanted to be like, man, shut the fuck up, man. What you talking about, man? He said that to be politically correct and nice, But yeah, at the same time, you got the tattoo,
That's why your tattoo says bench.
Asian character tattoos on you. You know what I mean?
But how like where do we draw the line of cultural appropriation though? Like
Nigga's tattoo says rice on that junk.
but further like is there a line? I said bench. That's fucked up, dude. That's
Nah,
fucked up.
Jay, you
That's
should be
fucked
pissed off at you.
up. He said bench.
No, he said that shit means rice. That's fucked up, all right?
Look. People don't know what the Asian tattoo characters on their arm say.
Hey, somebody read mine, dog. I know mine was legit. This lady, I used to work with this lady. Her name was Linda. She's white. And she was actually married to a Japanese guy, right?
Oh, word.
And he was in the military. She lived in Japan for like 15 years. Her kids were born in Japan, everything. And I was working with her, and she saw my joint on my arm. She said, life and death. I said, oh shit, you can read that joint? She said, yeah. I was like, because when I got a tattoo on me, I definitely didn't research that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know if it really said
They
that.
was like, whoo!
Yeah, she
Booking my
that's
trip
what
to
she
Japan.
said. That's what she said she read it. She said it was correct. I said, damn.
But yeah, so how far?
That was some years ago.
But like cultural appropriation though, like how far do we take it? Where's the line? Like
Where is the line? That is the question. The overall question.
I know
Like,
that-
is it with music?
I think lines are fading.
Music. And here's the thing. So there's the argument that America is a mixing bowl.
Oh,
And
it totally
because
is.
of that, there's only so much that can actually be like labeled as cultural appropriation. And I think that's a fairly valid argument. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the other side of it is, but I'm thinking like, so when we go out and eat other food from other cultures, like we're not culture appropriating. We're putting our money to an establishment to enjoy something we like, and we're trying food from another culture. But is there a difference between when you go to this other culture to try their food and when a person not of that culture decides to open up a restaurant, like having who serves food from another culture? Like, where is the line?
so,
was that-
regarding that, like there's a
Like,
bunch
can I open a pho shop?
like
Can I open a taco stand?
there's a bunch of Chinese restaurants around here, right, in the Northern Virginia area, but they're all run by Hispanics. If you look in the back, it's all Spanish people.
Well, they do the work, right? Or they own it.
I mean,
Or they cook the food.
they cook it. They cook it.
They cook it,
essentially.
yeah, okay.
They cook it essentially.
Yeah, you're right.
So then it's like, really, is like, is it really?
Man, what movie was that? Was that the first Rush Hour where the dude owned the Chinese shop on Crenshaw? Where it was a black dude.
The black dude in the back, though,
Yeah.
Don Cheadle?
And he's talking to the Chinese dude. He's like, hey, dude, you know what I mean? Tell him to go back to gambling and shit.
Seeing new Tiger style
Yeah,
kung
this
fu in
shit
that
was
joint, yo.
To
Yo,
me-
they
to
fought in
me,
the back.
as long as-
Black as hell. Is that a
So to me,
Chinese
as long as the
shop.
food is legit and it's not like a mockery of it, I'm saying, hey, look, whatever, man, whatever. Let me get a number
I really
two.
really don't care, but I guess we should.
But then, like, even if you talk,
Should we, though?
But then if you talk
This is
about
not part of America.
But for example, though, like if you want to talk about cultural appropriation, though, let's talk about Chinese food, for example, right? Like fortune cookies, they're not even Chinese. They came from a Japanese guy who created them in California. If you go outside of the country in China, they don't even have fortune cookies. They have no idea what it is.
They don't know what they're missing.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
Fortune cookies is kind of banging though.
Yeah, yo.
It is, but I mean,
Sometimes
like,
I'll break
thing
a fortune cookie over just
that's
for
more of an
fortune.
American thing then, if you think about it. It's not a Chinese thing, but that's associated with Chinese.
Yeah.
So again,
I
like,
heard that sometimes in China they actually don't like some of the stuff they serve in Chinese, like General Tso's chicken.
no, that's not a real
It's
thing.
not a thing.
Orange chicken, that ain't a real thing.
General Tso's chicken is banging though.
It's still banging, but it's kind of like, yo, Taco Bell. You mean that's not Mexican food? What are you talking about, right? Like, of course it's not. You know what I'm saying? But
Tacos?
like, sometimes I just want a fucking Taco Bell. I want a
Taco
gordita
Bell.
or something. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you mean a gordita's not a
Gorditas is not Mexican? It's not. Well, okay, Spanish, Hispanic.
Does a gordita mean fat girl?
It means little, yeah, well, yeah.
Little
It
fat.
means little fat girl.
I know I like them nacho cheese chicken gorditas, man. Those is banging, man.
But but that's what I'm saying though.
You
Like,
don't get
so,
no
like, yeah, so like, I bet some white dude probably made up Taco Bell. Real talk. And Chipotle was owned by McDonald's back in the day too.
For real?
Yeah,
Chipotle was?
Chipotle before they became independent. But back in the day, McDonald's owned Chipotle. So again, it's kind of like,
Where did Chipotle come from? Because Chipotle just exploded on the scene a couple
Like
years
that fact
ago.
right there, I never knew. And
Me
I'm
neither.
intrigued.
look it up, man. Look it
So
up.
how long has Chipotle been around?
Been around for a while.
I really
I
only-
would say within the past like 10 years.
Yeah, I would really
They-
only say I've noticed them about maybe 10 years ago.
But I'll say around 7 years they became independent.
Mhm.
So, but it's
Yeah,
still
'cause they just
it's still-
exploded
it's
out of
still
nowhere.
Recent though, still pretty recent though. But again, like
Amazing.
it's just like, is that cultural appropriation? Like some white dude making banging ass tacos and like burritos? It's like, well,
That's not cultural
Hey, man.
appropriation. That's capitalism, baby.
Capitalism,
The way we
right?
work.
All right.
Or that's the mixing bowl of America, man. Like that's the mixing bowl of American society, like of cultures coming from all over the world here for another chance or a different start or a different life, whatever you
so
want
to
call
me,
it.
as long as you aren't like Rachel Dolezal and like trying to claim that you're black or like whatever, if you doing what you want to do, like you want to curl your hair to make it kinky and stuff, like whatever, man, that's all whatever.
I'm pretty sure there are, but I would say for me personally, I don't think there's been a lot of black people that care about Jeremy Lin dreading his hair. Like, they care about if he can score. Like, does he suck or not? With the sport he's playing, is he good at his job? That's what I care about.
Sports, yeah.
Is he playing for the Wizards? I care about if he's good at his job. Right?
Being
Like,
a person not into sports, I
And I would
personally
think-
don't care if he has locks.
actually, look, he
care.
plays for the
It's not
Brooklyn
a thing.
Nets now. So he went from the LA Lakers to the New York Knicks to the Houston Rockets. Now he's back to the Brooklyn Nets. Oh, that's you? Oh shit, Jay!
Back in the day,
I didn't even know, dog.
Ooh, Ganga back in the day.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, Joe looks
Definitely had the
good.
locks back in the day, yeah.
That shit looks good. But yeah, I would think most people don't really care. Like, is he good at his job? That's what Brooklyn Nets fans care about.
In any group, in any whatever, there's always gonna be one or two people who actually do care, or like they're the extreme, but they don't represent the whole.
But
Right.
are they right? So here's the thing: like, just because most people believe something doesn't mean they're right, right? So I got to go back to the question. So, say a black dude in say Florida, no, not Florida. Let's say a black dude in
Virginia.
Maine, right? Opens up a taco shop, right? Like a Mexican restaurant. And he has no ties to Mexican. He just likes Mexican food, so he decides to make his own Mexican food. Is he appropriating Mexican culture?
Is it good though?
I could
Like,
see-
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I could
Is that-
see
I
Mexicans-
want to say, I bet more white people open up like ethnic, like shops,
like a soul food. joint.
yeah.
like can a white guy open up an Ethiopian restaurant? And
But what if
serve
he's from
injera?
Ethiopia?
Well, if he's not,
Didn't don't
Is the
white
food
people
good?
own BET? Yeah, Black Entertainment Television. I think
Didn't some white
wasn't he
guy own
bought
that?
out by a white guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
got
sure.
bought out, yeah. But is that cultural appropriation? I don't think that is. But
Shit, when it started
thinking-
to get big enough,
Well, here's
I'm
the
about
thing.
to appropriate this culture into my wallet. You know what I'm saying? He bought that
But
shit
that's
out.
another thing. Is like is Eminem rapping culture appropriation? If black people started rapping, I
remember
don't
Eminem
think
used to be so hard, dog. Like
I don't think
that
so.
Marshall Mathers and that Slim Shady LP, dog. When them Jones came out, they were game changers, man. Because like nobody was like telling stories like Eminem was. You know what I mean?
Here's
Like,
the thing: like music is
remember
about
that Jones
art,
Stan?
right?
Was that wasn't on that wasn't on the
That was
second
the Marshall
one, right?
Mathers jump.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
But there's
Stan
not
was
it's
hard,
but
man.
talent and
Dude,
talent for
Stan.
rhyming and music, like there's an arc of where there's actual talent and where there's not an aspect of stealing a culture to make Because if that's your talent, then are you stealing a culture to express your talent?
But if you're talking about, like, say, rapping, for example, culturally, hip hop is the culture. It may just be owned by everyone because everyone contributes to it. If you look at, say, the four elements of hip hop, for example, breakdancing, graffiti, like MCing and DJing, right? But if you look at breakdancing, for example, right, it's like, B-boying, Brooklyn boy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like, if you look at some of the movements, they took it from Shaolin, they took it from like capoeira, they took it from like all these other things, gymnastics even,
different dancing
right?
styles.
And they just, they mixed it together. But then you can't necessarily say, hip hop belongs to, like, say, this group of people, especially when all these other elements are incorporated in from other cultures.
Especially not anymore.
DJing and scratching, right? Or graffiti.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to break down all the elements of hip hop and whether or not those can be culturally appropriated or whether or not they're a conflation of different cultures. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, that's where I'm torn on this. Like, I don't think dreadlocks, people of different nationalities can have dreadlocks because it goes back historically so many different so far. My thing is foods. Foods culturally are generally quite specific on regions, right? And of course, certain regions it's regional. So not everybody from the same culture is in one region, but sometimes those regions have different cultures in them, and they make the same thing. But if you come to another country with people from a completely different culture start making your food and serving it, who are nowhere at all related to that region or culture, is that appropriation? And that's where my argument. That's where my issue is.
But what about, like, say, capoeira, for example? It's strictly African, right? Capoeira, you know, the Brazilian, Afro-Brazilian martial art. But then, like, a lot of Brazilians took over it and kind of, like, quote unquote improved it, made it, you know, like, more, you know,
palatable.
more palatable, right? Or even, like, say, I don't know, go back to foods, for example, chicken tikka masala, for example, right? You guys think, Indian food. It actually came from a Scottish guy. A Scottish guy was like, yo, this is pretty banging. You know, I think it'd be better if I added some more spices and I'm gonna add some chicken into it, and then boom, it became chicken tikka masala.
I need you to stop rocking my world, Jay.
Or for example, like,
you telling me tikka masala is not from India?
What? Chicken tikka masala. Or for example, or Japanese curry, right? There's a British guy who invented it. A British guy, like, was like, oh man, this is really good, man. So he started, like, mixing different shit. He went to Japan. He showed the locals how to make curry. And the locals were like, yo, this is really fucking good. So then they incorporated their own stuff, and then boom, now we have Japanese curry. But it really came from Britain.
Like, if Barbara and Pete opened a soul food shop across the street, would you support it? You know,
what if it was really good though?
What if it was really good?
If it's really good, like, I don't know. Soul food.
I don't know either. I don't know if I would either.
But thing is, like, I don't know.
I know a soul food.
Too
shop.
many questions, man. Like, I can't. I don't know. I can't draw a consensus.
Like, I don't know.
Tells you
I don't know.
Suckers, more questions than answers.
I don't know if mixing pot is more appropriate. I kind of like the term tossed salad because, like, mixing pot, we all mingle. Then, you know what I'm saying? With tossed salad, though, like a salad, you still have very individual aspects of people, but it's just together.
This dude, the crouton, this dude, the tomato.
I think the mixing comes in with especially with the younger generations, because I think these lines are kind of being blurred, especially with the hip hop, and, you know, everybody wants to kind of be like a b-boy, and you know, especially with these younger generations, man, like, this is the lines are becoming a little more blurred as to what's white and what's black and what's specifically Asian and what's, you know. And
like, what about, like, people who are, like, half Asian, half black, or, like, half black, half white? Then
it's all right for me to practice this thing.
Is it all right for me to, you know, practice one, you know, from one culture? Like, can I have dreads? Can I rock, you know, a do-rag? Can I do this and can I do that?
It's a good fundamental question, and I guess it goes down to each individual preference, you know. Yeah. But Jeremy Lin, keep balling, man. Don't worry about this dude, man. What the heck is he talking about, man?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you read the statement, I was like, this dude sounds like an idiot. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't think any basketball fan cares if Jeremy Lin has dreads or not. Like, if he plays for my team, is he producing? That's what I care about. You know what I mean? It's sports, you know. But, yeah, I guess
I think we hit all the hot
they're gonna wrap us
topics.
Up. Man, it's been like an 8-hour cast. I swear we've been doing it for like 8.5 hours.
2 hours and almost 20 minutes.
Dang. All right.
Yeah,
about to miss work.
Yeah, I guess episode 28.
Don't forget to vote, though.
Yeah, so voting in Virginia. Voting in Virginia on the 7th.
Tuesday.
On Tuesday the 7th, man. Like, go out and vote, man. Like, whether you're Democrat or Republican, whether you're left wing or right wing, whether you're progressive or conservative, go out and vote. You have Perriello, not Perriello. You have Northam, who's running for the Democrats, versus Gillespie, who's Trump's boy. So
I saw some campaign ad for Gillespie. It was for Gillespie on TV, and they were talking about what's the guy's name, Northam? How he had some pedophilia thing in his background. I was like, damn, they are going for the nuts on this. They going for the jugular on this damn campaign, dog. I mean, like, it was some totally derogatory thing where it was like, do not vote for him. He has charges of pedophilia in his background and all this stuff. I was just like, wow, like, they're taking the kid gloves off. Like,
yeah, that's rough.
That was crazy, man. It was wild. I wish I could find it on YouTube.
At the same time, like, Northam's campaigns on against Gillespie, just pretty much saying how he wants to keep the Confederate monuments, which we just had a great back and forth about. He wants to keep these Confederate
great back and forth. I think you were over talking me the whole time, though. I don't know how back and forth it was.
That was pretty good
talking
back and
over
forth,
me,
man. But
fair.
yeah, I always
we're gonna need James to start refereeing a bunch more of these, man. You gotta step in, ref.
I like how everyone was just like moving stuff around. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna move this, I'm gonna move that. hold on. Let me get in my 2 cents.
Oh, snap.
But so go out and vote, you know what I'm saying?
Do your thing.
Yeah, do your thing, man. Check it out. Do your research. You still got to Tuesday to do your research. Like whether or not that pedophilia thing's bullshit or not. It always comes down to researching the organizations who put out these the propaganda. Because you know the right still says that that Planned Parenthood was selling baby body parts or baby parts.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah,
they're still saying that even though it was debunked. Even though it was absolutely debunked, and the people who put out the original propaganda, who made that hit video, who was editing video clips, trying to frame Planned Parenthood, like those people were sued and the organization is taken apart. But like the right wingers are still, they still promoting the Planned Parenthood is selling baby parts, even though there's nothing behind it. So,
they're selling baby parts.
Baby parts. So anyway, look, go check it out, do your research, and voting on Tuesday for Virginia. It's going to be a tight race, so say something. Make your voice heard.
Like, subscribe, comment.
Definitely
shout outs to everybody that listens. I know a couple people at work. Of course, fam. Definitely been checking out the cast, man. Shout outs to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 28. Tell them I did Talkers Podcasts. Any final thoughts, gentlemen? That's it.
I'm good.
Be good.
Peace.
Peace.
Nice.